I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy on smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what? Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
oh yeah!
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
He did what?
A ground ball past Jenks up the middle of the infield. Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a world championship. The White Sox have won the World Series, and they're mobbing each other on the field.
You golden blank staggered black stone and blinkety black punk, are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Kobe Bryant on the move against Christie. In for the right. Flips his shot up. No good. O'Neal lays it up. Missed it. Ball tipped out to Ori. Straight on three. Good! The Lakers have won! Robert Ory's greatest hits tour continues.
Oh, no doubt about it. He's got to be getting a Grammy for that one.
Well, good morning and welcome, folks, to the wacky Wednesday edition of Snowman in the Morning. You can follow along with us on social media by dialing up SNW Digital Media for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and Pinterest. You can also log on to Snowman Digital Media for all of our great conversations from this show, as well as others produced by Snowman Digital Media. This is the best sports talk show you haven't heard of until now. You can hear us every Monday, which is today, through Friday on all of our great stations and networks in the region, across the nation, and around the world, and across the internet. And the podcast version of this here show will be available right after this show is completed. You ready to get into it? Good. Let's get started. You know, I want to start off today's program by telling you a tale of perseverance. And this tale of perseverance involves a very dear friend in the industry. I had her on 4 years ago, and I've had her on recently when we discussed the death of one Kobe Bryant. But now let's get to some more positive times. The lovely Pamela Michelle joins me. How are you?
I'm doing well, Brian. Thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have you on. Okay.
I'm glad that we could be here talking a little bit more, about something happier, even though it makes me happy to talk about Kobe, and it always will, but it's just nice to, have a little bit better of a circumstance.
It's great to have you on under better circumstances. And one of the better circumstances is your show, the Pamela Michelle Show. I gave it a listen, and it's now a guilty pleasure because it's a friend.
Thank you.
I mean this from the heart. People have said it to me for the almost 7 years I've had this show. I return the favor. This is you at its finest, and not giving a you-know-what about what people think or say about your program. It's you. It's something you had to. It's something you had to do. You and I have talked about this, so I want you to tell the folks about the Pamela Michelle Show. Let her rip.
Okay, well, my new podcast, The Pamela Michelle Show, and I did that on purpose so I could hashtag PMS just because I wanted to. There's always some method to my madness. There is always
that is fabulous. When I caught that hashtag, I must have laughed for about 20 minutes when I saw that hashtag. Go on, tell the folks about your show.
It's by design. It's by design to make people laugh. I mean, when I first started in this industry, I had a programming director tell me what a great personality I am. And it pissed me off. I was so offended. I was like, what? Excuse me? Like, I want to be stat girl. Like, I want to be, like, respected and thought of in the top percentile of people who are knowledgeable about fantasy football and who know their shit about baseball.
Right.
Like, I want to, like, be respected and think of, like, being a serious sportscaster. And I don't want somebody to be like, wow, you have a great personality.
Yeah.
That's what, you know what I mean? It's like, it was offensive to me. And I worked so hard and I became that girl. Like, I became the fantasy football girl. People wanted to interview me about fantasy football. People sought out my advice. And I beat everybody in Vegas. I beat the Sirius XM fantasy football champion. I beat Vegas bookies. I made the boys look foolish and stupid. I have nothing left to prove. I have nothing left to prove in that realm. I know I am one of the best. Everybody can say, hey, this is how I do it, whatever. I know my way works, and it's been proven with results. Championships, and, you know, like I said, you can't get any better than beating people in Vegas who think they know everything and making them look foolish when they leave Ezekiel Elliott in his rookie year just there for you to take.
Yep. I mean, how can you
just
pass that up?
For you to take.
How can you pass up Ezekiel Elliott? Okay.
No, you just couldn't. I mean, I got super lucky. I had the last pick, and for some reason, like, all of these guys were just overlooking everything, all laughing at me. You have last pick. Ha, 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 ha. And we were doing a snake draft. So I was like, okay, I got last pick, but I get 2 picks in a row.
Exactly.
Take who you want to take. And the way I constructed my roster, everybody laughed at me. I took 2 quarterbacks who actually had the same bye week. Mm-hmm. I don't pay a lot of attention to bye weeks or anything like that. I construct my team to how I want it. And point being of it all, it was a 12-person league from these, you know, the creme de la creme in Las Vegas. And they left me last pick with Ezekiel Elliott and David Johnson.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. That's a no-brainer.
That's what I did. It was Ezekiel Elliott's rookie year, and David Johnson actually really wasn't hurt that year. He had a great year. The same year Zeke broke out and had this phenomenal monster year. And I took them back to back, and all the boys laughed at me. And the week, before I go back to talking about my show, the week that both of my quarterbacks were on a bye, I think I had taken Roethlisberger and Phillip Rivers maybe that year. I know I had Big Ben as one of my quarterbacks, definitely. I want to say Phillip Rivers might have been my other one, but they were both on a bye. And the thing is about this league is you drafted who you drafted. There was no waiver wire. Wow. So I couldn't go to the waiver wire and pick somebody up. Your team was your team. So everybody's like, oh my God, you're going to lose. You're going to lose. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a quarterback. I had Ezekiel Elliott and David Johnson. Sis didn't need a quarterback, okay? Like, I just didn't. I won that week, and I won very big. So the point was, I was really offended. And now when I started thinking about what kind of podcast I wanted to come back with, right now we don't have sports, and it's a little bit difficult. You know, you can still talk sports, talk about different things. It's hard when there's nothing that's being played.
True.
And, you know, so I really can't talk a lot about that. I don't want to do something I've already talked about before. I wanted to do something different that interested me. I got the best advice from somebody I used to work with, and he told me, do the show you want and be fearless about it. Absolutely. I know everybody's not going to love my show. I've gotten quite a bit of critique about my show saying, hey, you know what? I think you should take calls. You know what? I think you should do this. I don't get where you're going with this. It's not for everybody to get. It's supposed to be something for you to just put on, listen to, and laugh. That's what I wanted to do. I like making people laugh. I'm not trying to say I'm a comedian, but I do like making people laugh, and I came up with this concept of, if people really knew what girls talk about, sometimes guys would be like, wow, that's what you think. And I know that there are podcasts that kind of already do that kind of stuff, but I feel like mine is a little bit different because it's not like I'm taking it exactly from that point of view.
Right.
The Pamela Michelle show is, I actually started off with something very serious, which was the topic of mental health.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for people who know me, they know that I had a really hard time not that long ago where I was in a really dark place.
Right.
And, you know, I would just lay in bed. I would cry before my feet even hit the floor. I didn't want to get up. I just didn't know how I was going to fake going through my day.
Right.
Because the worst thing when you're unhappy is somebody saying, hey, is everything okay? Because even that little phrase can force you to just bust out into tears.
Yes.
I would muster up the strength to put my feet on the floor and pretend that I was in a good mood, and I would smile and go about my day when I was dying inside. I would go to bed and pray, if there is a God, please don't let me wake up tomorrow. Like, I just want the pain to stop. I want the hurting to stop. I just can't do this anymore. I just can't. And it was really hard for me to communicate that to people. And I had people that loved me, that wanted to help me, and they didn't know how, because I didn't know how to communicate, hey, I'm not all right. Like, there's things that are going on in my head that I can't even begin to understand. You know, I was driving my car and I pulled over on the side of the road, and I just started to just break down and cry because all I wanted to do was put my foot so far on the gas and then just drive into a building. And then I thought, oh my God, not what if I die, but what if I live? What if it doesn't work? And those were some of the things I was thinking about. You know, I would just not answer phone calls. I didn't want to do anything. I just was in this horrific, dark place. I finally got help. I've been going to therapy, doing a lot of things to work on me. And in a way, this podcast is sort of my therapy in a way. I talk about things that are, you know, important to me, or things, random things that I think about. I came up with this whole Bad Girl Bible, and the Bad Girl Bible, a lot of people asked me, hey, what's that? Is that like just a complete sex guide? No, not really. It's not. It's not a complete sex guide, but what it is the equivalent to is the bro code. So that's sort of what the Bad Girl Bible is the Bad Girl Bible is the equivalent to the mythical bro code.
Yes.
And, you know, I had a listener ask me, so how many rules are there? I don't know yet because I am still kind of making them up as I go along.
Absolutely.
If there's going to be 10 rules, then, you know, there's going to be 10 rules. I have 2 rules right now. The first one is never, ever, never, ever beg. The second is be the girl everybody wants, but not the girl everybody's had. So those are the 2 Bad Girl Bible rules that I've got going on so far.
That is fabulous. Now you wonder why I love the show, because I love to laugh, and my wife makes me laugh on a daily basis. I love laughter. I absolutely love laughter. Exactly.
It's the best medicine. And that's also why when I introduced like the logo for my show is this blonde that looks very iconically like Marilyn Monroe. Mm-hmm. And the whole slogan of it is "When good girls go bad."
That's just one of the reasons I had to have you back on the show in better times. It's so good. It's so wonderful to hear you laugh, because the first time I had you on, we laughed, and we laughed the entire time we were in conversation. One of my favorite comedians, I too can share your story about being in a very dark place, and it wasn't that long ago for me, and I'll piggyback on that after the break. But one of my favorite comedians is George Carlin, and I've listened to a ton of George Carlin when I was in a mental hospital 3 years ago. You know, anyone who knows me or knows of me, which you do, you know my favorite comedian is George Carlin, and one of my favorite routines by George is flying on an airplane. And my mom and my dad were the first ones I repeated this routine to, and y'all gonna have to forgive me because I'm just gonna say it the way he said it. My favorite line in his routine of flying on an airplane: about this time someone's telling you to get on the plane. Get on the plane, get on the plane. I say, fuck you, I'm getting in the plane. And I did that for my wife when we went on a trip last year. Again, folks, forgive me. This is the first hour, and we're kicking this off the right way with some laughter while this pandemic goes on to help us get through this pandemic. Man, that has been one of my lean on lines when I go through a dark time. But the best part about it, I'm getting dressed to take my wife to work one day, and I said it in the shower, didn't realize it, and I came out and I repeated it, and when I got to that line, my wife said it to me, and I fell out laughing. I fell out laughing. It's that one or a Bugs Bunny cartoon or something. So, folks, our point is laughter will get you through this. I had to have this lady on the show to talk about hashtag PMS. Oh, Lord, I'm going to laugh all day long now because when I first saw it, I started cracking up. And I'm going to make sure that it is a well-recommended podcast for folks that really get into laughter and want to find out a story about perseverance. I will continue to tell your story, and I will definitely support your podcast. This is Pamela Michelle, a very dear friend of mine, the host of the Pamela Michelle Show. And yes, you heard the hashtag correctly. Hashtag PMS. And if that don't make you laugh, then you don't have a pulse and you don't have a soul. Come on, y'all. Give this show a listen. I really, really recommend it. And I truly thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your podcast with us.
Well, I appreciate it. And I really hope everybody likes it. I mean, I'm doing it for me. Selfishly, it's a self-serving type of thing, but I really hope everybody loves. I love getting the feedback. I always put things on Facebook and Twitter. The last I'm actually doing right now is, fetishes and what are deal breakers. So, I mean, this is not your average podcast, folks. I mean, I know that not everybody's going to love it. I know that some people that I've worked with really don't get it, and it's just not for them, and it's okay.
Right.
It's okay, because I want to talk about deal breakers and fetishes. I mean, my last podcast was a good friend of mine who's a comedian, Marie Connor.
Yes.
It was called Spilling the Tea, and I went through my Twitter DMs, and I made it a game show, and I read things that dudes send me, and I asked her, I was like, okay, so the internet is a cesspool. Where do you think this came from? Do you think it came from Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or a dating site?
You know what? The next time you do that, let me know, because I could totally turn that into a Jeopardy setup. And just throw it out.
That's the whole point. It was designed with a very game show type motif.
You let me know the next time you do that.
We'll definitely be doing another Spill the Tea at some point. I gotta let these creepy DMs build up, though. I get them on the daily.
I know you do.
I get them on the daily.
I know you do. When they build up, you let me know when you do that. I will come in.
You got it.
I will virtually come in with a tuxedo on and put the spotlight on, and I will have so much fun with it. I would love to do that segment with y'all. I would love to do it.
No problem. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Pamela Michelle giving y'all a laugh to start the day. Thanks a lot, my dear. I totally appreciate the time.
Thank you, Brian. Have a great day.
I'm going to piggyback on what she went through later on in the program, but I'm going to have some more laughs. Back in a flash.
Snowman in the morning.
Holy on snow!
Where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
Now, folks, there are a lot of people that I bring on the show and they're able to talk about their teams. This guy ain't. My good friend Cravante Hurd has jumped on with me, and I promise I didn't do this to make you depressed or upset, my friend.
Oh, man. You know how to press my buttons, man. You know how to press them, man.
How long have we been friends now? 4 or 5 years?
I lost count.
Now, you got all excited all through Instagram, and I remember this, and I was so happy for you. The night the Capitals won the Stanley Cup, I didn't think you could scream that loud.
Nah, I didn't think so either, because honestly, I didn't think it was going to happen. I'm telling you, I didn't think it was going to happen, man.
One of the proud members of the Flex Zone, Cravante Hurd, joining me. Now, I got to ask, how crazy did you go when the Nationals won it all?
Pretty crazy. I went pretty crazy. And I went crazy because since you've known me, I've always talked about there being some type of dark cloud being over the nation's capital as far as sports is related. because I mean, if you look at all of our teams, except like as of late, I mean, I'm talking about when we first met each other,
right?
Like when we first started conversing about sports.
Yep.
At the time, all of our teams were struggling. Like from hockey, I think hockey was doing the best at the time. Basketball was kind of up and down. Football was in the dirt, and baseball was good. Baseball was good, but it's just that we just couldn't get over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what made the Nationals win so great and so like heartfelt, like almost brought me to tears, because the Nationals have been good for quite some time. But it's just that I felt like every time we ran into the Dodgers or every time we ran into whoever our first opponent was, we would lose. But we were always the favorite because of our bullpen. First of all, we beat the Dodgers. Let me tell you, you understand. I was excited off the bat. I'm like, we finally got over the hump.
So excited. I was at work before the pitch before Kendrick lifted the grand slam. I saw they had tied it at 3. I heard Juan Soto's home run thanks to Charlie Slows and Dave Jagler, because I have that I have that app on my phone, WJFK, which is the flagship station of the Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
I had my earpiece in illegally, of course, and I was listening to Charlie and Dave take us through the 9th inning and then get to the 10th inning, and Dave was on the call, and I heard him get excited when Kendrick drove that one-strike pitch over center field, and I was working in a hospital, so I couldn't scream like I wanted to.
Oh,
I couldn't scream. Oh. I had to do something. I had to do it fast, so I went outside and went into my car and let loose for a good 10 minutes. Because I'm a White Sox fan. I'm from Chicago, but I'm also a big fan of the Nats. I've been a big fan of the Nats for a while. When I screamed in my car, a couple of my coworkers, I kid you not, came outside and they saw my car bouncing, and they thought something was going on. They thought something was going on. So unbeknownst to me, security was alerted, and so was my boss.
Get out of town, man. Get out of town, man.
When my boss came to my car, he saw me, pumping my fists, and he told everybody, he's okay, everybody go back in. He was about to leave, and I looked at my phone. I said, I better get back inside. I got back inside, and he immediately yanked me into the office. He said, I need to see you in my office now. And I'm like, oh, damn, I got busted. I came in the office, closed the door, and he looked at me, and he had this big grin on his face. And he said, you must be listening to a baseball game. I said, I just heard the Nationals beat the Dodgers. He said, thank God. Go back to work.
Oh, my gosh. My gosh.
Now, I hate picking on this guy because he's one of my best friends, folks, but what are y'all going to do about John Wall?
Here you go. You always, you always know. I feel like you do these things on purpose.
Whatever do you mean?
What are we gonna do with John Wall, huh?
What are
John
y'all
Wall hasn't played in about 2 going on 3 years. It seems like, and we don't know if the guy's really healthy. So once he gets back to camp, and unfortunately with all the goofiness that's going on in the world and this virus that's going around, we won't know anytime soon, which kind of makes all this worse. And another thing that makes it worse is that Bradley Beal is playing out of his mind.
Yep.
So
and Bradley Beal, I think, is out of there. I hate to say it.
I think unfortunately, I think he's out of there too, because as soon as he hits the open market, he's going to have suitors.
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going to have a lot of suitors, and I don't know if our front office will want to put more money into him when John Wall is sitting over here and we're not sure what's going on with him.
Right.
It's really we're in like one of the worst positions as an organization in basketball. It's terrible.
Let's talk some more NBA. Cravante Hurd joining me. And I'm going to say this team's name the correct way, so people are going to have to forgive me for being old school, but the Bullets are in deep trouble. The Washington Wizards, a.k.a. the Washington Bullets, are in deep trouble because you got John Wall sitting out for an who knows length of time. Bradley Beal is playing out of his mind, and he's out of there. You got rid of Saransky, who's now with the Bulls, and the Bulls just made a couple of changes in their front office, and they're getting ready to be on the rise. What do y'all do?
All, he got fired on his day off.
Yep.
He got fired on his
day off.
He got
fired on his day off. He got fired on his day off. I guess, and I talked about this yesterday on the program, I guess the fans said enough is enough. All right? I guess the fans said enough is enough. But what do you do in Washington? What are y'all going to do?
Man. That's a good question, man. I wish I knew. The only thing we can do is, well, God damn, this is really tough because it's like the perfect storm for us, perfect situation for us was that John Wall and Bradley Beal would be on the same page on the court at the same time, performing outstanding, and we would have arguably we would have a formidable backcourt. But when one's injured, and it's funny because John Wall was playing well, Bradley Beal was injured. Now it's vice versa.
Reversed.
But Bradley Beal's playing out, but he's playing out of his mind. So unfortunately, we're going to become one of those teams that's going to sink for a couple of years because I know they're going to play this wrong. Whatever they do, we're going to end up on the short end of the stick because we're going to end up losing Bradley Beal and we're going to have John Wall, but we're not going to know what we're going to have with John Wall. I know Bradley Beal's out the door.
Yeah, Beal's out of there.
We got to see. We want to hit the draft. We're going to have to hit the draft. The draft is our best option at this point.
Yeah. Now,
you know I don't care for that coach either.
We don't have to talk about that.
I was like, man,
that's obvious.
I don't know. He doesn't bring them to the next level. He doesn't get them to that next level. He's not that guy.
He really isn't. Now I got another question for you. I put a rumor out there that there would be not one but two big men available for a certain team in San Francisco, California, that would restart their dynasty. And people think I'm crazy when I put these two names out there. So I want to get your thoughts on this. The two names I put out there, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Karl Anthony Towns.
Yep. You're crazy. Yep, you're crazy. I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but yep, you're crazy.
Why do you think I'm crazy when I say that? Why do you think I'm crazy when Karl Anthony Towns wants out of Minnesota and the Bucks would probably get beaten by Toronto and Giannis wants out of Milwaukee? Why am I crazy?
So I don't think I think Milwaukee will do whatever it takes. Well, they should. That should. Not say they will, because we don't know what they're going to do. Because I mean, hell, didn't they let go Kareem Abdul-Jabbar or Lou Alcindor at the time?
I rest my case.
But let's fast forward to the present. They haven't seen any success since that, right?
Yep.
So why would you go back? Why would you go back to doing what put you in the hole for decades? You finally got a generational talent.
Yeah, true.
Why would you let him go? You need to do whatever you can to keep your superstars, because he's not just a great basketball player. He's box office. Folks come to see him. There's a lot of avenues to this business we call basketball. And when a player satisfies, when he checks off more boxes than one, there's more of a reason to keep him.
True.
So, I mean, they shouldn't. Now, to the other guy, Karl Anthony Towns may be out of Minnesota. I agree with you. He may be out of Minnesota. He may be about through with him. Hell, I think Minnesota may be blowing up their team a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie to you. So letting Karl Anthony Towns go, and if he gets efficient around that market, California would look real sexy at the time.
And you know,
anytime.
and you know that management in Golden State are licking their chops to go after him. They're licking their chops to go after him because the Warriors have a top 3 pick in their back pocket. Let's just call it the way we see it. They have a top 3 pick in their back pocket unless a ping pong ball decides to fall through the floor, come back through the ceiling, and tap an executive on the head again, which I don't see happening. The Warriors have a top 3 pick in their back pocket. Who's to say they won't make a trade for Karl Anthony Towns and a couple of second-round picks, rebuild their draft capital, and rebuild their bench, and do the same thing that they did 4 years ago when Kevin Durant surprised everybody?
Sure. I can see that, and I meant you're crazy. This the Greek freak part, because with the goofiness that's going on with Karl Anthony Towns and the Minnesota and Minnesota team is like it's getting to a head. It's really getting to a head. Like
it's been at a head. It's been at a head for
mismanaging.
It's been at a head for 2 years, and Jimmy Butler is part of that problem.
Minnesota has been a team that has horribly mismanaged players and known for it.
Kevin Garnett, hello.
Karl Anthony Towns leaving is not far-fetched at all. And if he leaves, now it depends on how he leaves. If he leaves via free agency, that's one thing. But if it's via trade, I don't think Minnesota would do deals with the Warriors.
Oh no,
I don't think so.
People thought the same thing at Oklahoma City 4 years ago.
Well, Oklahoma's one of those cities I didn't think deserved a team. So whatever. Whatever.
Finally,
give me Seattle back.
Finally, somebody that agrees with me. Can we please? And let's just go to that point next. Can we please bring back the Seattle SuperSonics?
I'm saying, man.
What the hell's in Oklahoma besides the Sooners?
Nothing. The Thunder. The Thunder now. That's it.
Did
the only thing. Oh, wait. Who okayed that? Like, who okayed? Yeah, you know what? Oklahoma City. I like it. Who okayed that? What board okayed this?
This has been going. That was going on for 3 years. Because remember, Hurricane Katrina displaced New Orleans.
Right.
Okay. And Clay Bennett saw his opportunity because for a while, like Kansas City and Omaha shared the Kings, New Orleans and Oklahoma City shared the Hornets. Don't ask me how Oklahoma City fully got in play. I don't know. I really don't know. But be that as it may, it happened. And 2008 saw the end of an era with the Seattle SuperSonics, which is why I have about 100 Seattle Supersonic games on my jump drive, but that's another story. I cannot, and I said this on your program, I can't stand the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay? I cannot and will not stand OKC.
B Snow, listen. I hate Oklahoma City now. When they first came out, they were very, very exciting. I mean, young team, great players, and they had a great nucleus that if they could have kept them together, could have been a force to be reckoned with in the West and the NBA as a whole.
Give you that.
But because of the mismanagement of their front staff,
have we heard that before?
Their front office, it completely dismantled. Like in the course of 2 to 3 years, that team has been destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Like completely destroyed. And that's when I was like, see, that's why y'all can't have nice things. That's why y'all can't have nice things. And that's how I feel about that. But
you know what really destroyed OKC?
Once James Harden.
You know what really destroyed OKC? And it wasn't even James Harden leaving. James Harden playing that on his own. You know what destroyed Oklahoma City? Losing to Golden State after being up 3-1. It killed them. They haven't been the same since.
But you know what? I think that was the nail in the coffin. I think that might have been like the last strike. I think the first one started when around the James Harden thing. That was probably like the first one. but that was definitely the last one. That was the nail in the coffin. Like, we'll never be able to overcome
that. That was the last straw.
It's kind of like the Seahawks and the Patriots in that Super Bowl. The
Malcolm
Seahawks
Butler.
will never. Have you noticed that it's only like 2 players from that Super Bowl team that's still on the team?
And one of them is Russell Wilson.
Exactly. And one guy's going to defense.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's
I think
the same
only
thing.
two or three guys, something like that.
And as far as the Seattle Seahawks go this year, folks, I hate to say this to my fans in the Pacific Northwest, don't expect anything big, okay? Because until you unseat the 49ers, it's over, all right? And I'm putting this out there. I'm putting this out there too.
Go ahead, say. I think I know what you're about to say. Go ahead.
Nobody's beating San Francisco for a while. Nobody's beaten San Francisco for a while.
Okay, so I wanted to say this. Arizona low-key is coming. Arizona is coming.
You mean the same you mean the same Arizona that lost in heartbreaking fashion twice to Jimmy Garoppolo? I mean, I love the fact that they traded for DeAndre Hopkins.
Steal.
It's a steal. It's an absolute steal. But here is the problem, and it's going to be a problem until they decide to fix it. They got the wrong man coaching them.
I can't. Okay. So let me say this. I didn't think he was qualified for that job. When he first got it, I didn't think he was quite qualified to be a head coach. But I think he's teamed up. He's in the perfect situation to succeed because he's teamed up with Kyler Murray. So
I'll give you that.
Them together, they could build a really, really great offense. Young, fast, college-like offense, but with a pro twist.
But there are two sides to the ball.
If they could be patient. If they could be patient.
They've been patient in Arizona. They've been patient in Arizona since Ben Roethlisberger threw a Super Bowl winning touchdown that shouldn't have counted. They've been patient.
Listen. Obviously they're not, because look at Josh Rosen. They weren't that patient. I'm saying on the coaching side of the game, if they're going to be patient, because Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's necessarily one of those quarterbacks where you can put him with anybody and he'll succeed. I think if he's with a young and innovative coach, I think that's where he's going to succeed. He would have had to be with like a Sean McVay or Kyle Shanahan, one of those type of offensive minds to thrive.
Hey, you know something? Kyler Murray and Kyle Shanahan. Wow. Imagine those two minds fitting together. But you see, the 49ers already have their quarterback of the future. A couple different plays, and they have 6 Super Bowls. And I will put this out there. They're going to make a couple different plays, and they will have their 6th Super Bowl. But I'll spill that tea later on in the year. But
fair enough.
I understand where you're going. While we're talking about the NFC West, it's going to be between the Cardinals and the 49ers. The Rams are done. The Seahawks are... No. Change that. The Seahawks are done. The Rams are worse.
Listen, the Rams did this mess to themselves. They did this to themselves a couple years ago.
They mortgaged the future for a player that didn't give them much. And now Todd Gurley is gone. Brandon Cooks is gone. They mortgaged the future. And I hate saying this, and you and I know a lot of Rams fans. We have a lot of friends in common.
Yep.
And you know I also speak the truth when the tea gets knocked over. I don't spill it. I knock the sumbitch over, okay? Here's the tea I'm going to spill, and it goes like this. They mortgaged their future on a quarterback that hasn't done a doggone thing since the NFC Championship game. They got lucky in New Orleans.
And that's tough, because I felt like Jared Goff was not as good as he portrayed. I thought the Rams defense was really, really, really good, and he had some really good weapons around him. But I felt like Jared Goff, he wasn't that guy to put them over the top. he was more so down for the ride.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah. And you saw it in the
playoffs. Not that guy, I know you feel a certain way about the Seahawks, but I feel like if you put Russell Wilson there, I think Russell Wilson would have put them over the top.
Wrong.
I think he would have put them over the top.
Wrong.
I think so.
I don't.
Jared Goff, no. Russell Wilson, yes.
I don't trust. Look, Russell Wilson is a Seahawk, and he'll be a Seahawk for life, and thank God for that. Put him with the Rams, and it's even worse. Because the management's not in place.
I mean, at the time when the Rams were at their height.
Okay.
Not now.
Okay.
Not now.
Not now.
Can't nobody help the
No.
Rams. Can't nobody help the Rams.
No.
Can't nobody help the Rams now.
The Rams are going to be
I'm
under
talking about
500.
like when Jared Goff. I'm talking about when they was like in NFC championships and they went to the Super Bowl. I was like, I think Russell Wilson would have got them in that Super Bowl. Would have got them that Super Bowl. Jared Goff, he's not quite there yet, and honestly, I don't think he'll ever be. And he's with Sean McVay.
Yeah. Yeah, Jared Goff is not that guy. Todd Gurley was not that guy. Todd Gurley was not that guy. Because if Todd Gurley was that guy, he'd have found a way to not only play, but beat San Francisco in their house. And the 49ers held them to 7 points in Los Angeles. And I keep referencing the 49ers because, A, they're defending NFC champions, and B, they got one hell of a defense.
Yes. Even though they let a nice little piece go, but they do still have a very formidable defense.
Solomon Thomas is going to step in great for DeForest Buckner.
I hope so.
That was a money move. That was absolutely a money move because the 49ers are busy stacking up their draft capital like they used to do when they ruled the 80s. But I got a fellow out of South Carolina that could easily step in. When I did my mock draft, and yes, for the first time in my career, in my sports talk career, I did a mock draft. And at 13, I gave the 49ers.
Oh, man, B-So, you should have called me, man. I like doing mock drafts.
You know what we'll do? Before the actual draft, you and I will do one, okay? The person I have mocked for the 49ers is a fella named Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina.
I heard. Yep. I'm very familiar. The lineman. Yep. I'm very familiar.
I am just
He's saying, they're saying like he's right behind Chase. He's behind Chase Young.
Yep. He is a playmaker. Pair Javon Kinlaw. Put Javon Kinlaw on one side and Nick Bosa on the other side.
Ooh. Now, would he be better at end or interior?
I don't know. I don't know. It's going to take. It's going to take a couple games.
Derek Brown is out there as well.
Right. It'll take a couple games. And I still believe Kinlaw goes to the 49ers, but it's going to take a couple games for them to find out where he really belongs. You knew where Bosa belongs. He's on the edge. You knew where DeForest Buckner belonged.
Come on, David.
He was
gotta
on the
know
edge.
That.
At the same time, they've lined Bosa up inside too, and Bosa just terrorized people. Nick Bosa terrorized people.
In certain packages,
right?
He will give the interior offensive line hell. Hell.
I mean, he scared Aaron Rodgers. All right? How many times can you see a defensive lineman line up outside or inside, frighten the daylights out of Aaron Rodgers? For that matter, let's go down the list of the quarterbacks he terrorized last year. Drew Brees, Lamar Jackson, Jared Goff. We ain't got to say nothing about what he did to Jared Goff. We don't have to say anything about what he did to Russell Wilson in San Francisco or in Seattle.
Truth. Yeah, he terrorized a lot. But that's what he does. That's the tree. That's the tree that he comes from.
Yeah. Joey Bosa.
That's just what he does.
Here's a thought. He
gets to his spot.
Yeah.
He gets to his spot so fast, and it's like linemen, no matter what, whether they're like faster linemen or like stronger linemen, he has a counter move for everything.
Yep.
And he gets to his spot, like where the quarterback, not necessarily where the quarterback is standing. He gets to like where the arm is, like where the arm is about to release. And get that ball. Like, that's his thing.
Here's a funny Here's part of a funny conversation you and I had back in January We had this off the air. I mean, everybody was so excited to see Kirk Cousins finally win a playoff game. Everybody in Minnesota was so excited, and everybody was so confident with Minnesota going to San Francisco. And then the 49er defense terrorized the Vikings into a 3-and-out, and Jimmy Garoppolo took the 49ers right downfield, 8 plays, 61 yards, and it was 7-0, and you and I both said the same thing. This game is over.
I tell you, Minnesota was probably the only city that was happy because, first of all, they messed up my playoff pool, because
you picked New Orleans
because when they went down there and beat what they beat?
They beat New Orleans.
They beat New Orleans, right?
New Orleans.
God dang. Yeah, messed up my football pool. So I think they were the only ones that was happy about that. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, and I'm telling you, you already know me. I'm very familiar with Kirk Cousins, but I was like, because now they're playing against the 49ers. I was like, that's probably the worst thing that could have happened. Probably the worst thing. And you usually don't say that after a win, but after that win, I was like, this is not good. This is not going to be good. It's not going to be good at all.
I actually had someone message me. You're going to love this. I actually had someone message me saying, watch out for Kirk Cousins. And they know I'm a 49er fan.
Up.
I responded back to this person, are you bleeping kidding me? And he says,
that's what you just said. Shut up.
He posed another question behind it. And the question he posed behind it went like this. And I kid you not. I absolutely kid you not when I got this question. What is the 49er defense going to do to Kirk Cousins? Beat him up was my simple response.
The worst thing that happened to Kirk Cousins is Dalvin Cook going down. That was the worst thing. Mm-hmm. Because now it's all on you. Because at least Dalvin Cook is very good. Mm-hmm. Very good at the running back position. He could catch. He could do a multitude of things. And he could cover up a lot of things offensively for Kirk Cousins too.
Absolutely.
But when he went down, I was like, oh, it's all on Kirk Cousins. It's a wrap. It's a wrap because I know Kirk Cousins very well. He's not that guy who's going to take your team over the top. He's not a playmaker. He's not that guy. Trust me, as a Redskins fan, I know he's not that guy.
You saw it up close.
Now, granted, his time in D.C. was not all his fault.
No.
But nonetheless, I know what type of guy he is, and he's not that guy. He's not that guy.
He really isn't.
Matter of fact, I'll tell you, B-Snow, I'll tell you, I've adopted a new way of evaluating, trying to evaluate players and talent in general. That's what it is. It's either you're that guy or you're not that guy. Mm-hmm. And it's okay to not be that guy. Mm-hmm. But when you're not that guy and you're getting guaranteed contracts, something's up.
You know, that made Paul Allen happy, the longtime voice of the Vikings. Because I heard some of his highlight calls after they played San Francisco, and I've never heard him that despondent except for anytime Brett Favre went down. And I'm a big fan of Paul Allen. I am a huge fan of Paul Allen. Okay? I'm a huge fan of Paul Allen as a play-by-play guy. But I think he realized early that his Vikings were overmatched.
I mean, you had no choice. Listen, once Cook was not able to go, that's it. Dalvin Cook, if they were for them to win, Dalvin Cook would have had to have a hell of a game.
He would have to have 200 yards, and you ain't getting 200 yards rushing against that front four. That's not good. You ain't getting. You're not getting 100 against that front four.
That's what I'm saying.
You ain't getting 100 against that front four. Okay, and what was funny, the game was on a Saturday. My wife and I were sitting watching it, and she looked at me and she says, "You know, you're gonna get excited, right?" Yes. And she just looked, you're just sitting very still. We don't have the ball yet. And then the 49ers got the ball, marched it right into the end zone. And not only did I make my wife laugh, I frightened my dog.
Oh.
When I jumped up and said, when I said touchdown really loud and I was running around the house, my wife was cracking up laughing. When I finally sit down, my dog hopped in my lap and just went to work licking my face going, "It's okay, you scared me, Daddy. I understand now." And every time I scored a touchdown, I got excited and the dog was chasing me around the house. Oh boy. But it was fun. It's absolutely fun. One more thing.
Absolutely.
Proud Papa. How's that been going?
It's different, man. Unfortunately, she's a distance away, so that's the hard part.
Yeah.
I try my best to see her, every day via FaceTime, but because of the coronavirus is going on, it's not safe. It's really not safe for her to be around too many people right now at
Understood.
her such a tender age. Like I said, she just turned 4. She's turned 4 months. So that's a tough part. But this is just another adjustment that it's kind of tough. It's tough right now, but I mean, looking at her is just so much. I feel with so much joy as she grows. Like I tell you, every month she looks different.
Yeah.
Every month, man.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. We're gonna get through this so you can see your baby girl. All right. I'm cheering you on. We're gonna make sure we get through this pandemic so fathers can be reunited with their children. I know some distance has to be involved, but it's going to happen. Quirvante Hurd, one of the members of the Flex Zone, joining me. We just hopped all over the place, man. Thank you for the time. I totally appreciate it.
Listen, man, thank you for having me on, and we do this all the time, and it's great. I love it.
We're going to have to make this a weekly segment, man. We're just going to have to.
Hey, man, listen, man, just call me.
You got it.
Just call me.
You got it, man. All right, a trivia question, and then on to hour 2 after this.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy un smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what? Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bum!
And here we go.
oh yeah!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books. The celebration is on. The Washington Nationals are the world champions.
You golden blank staggered black stone and a blinking black punk, are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Johnson is three-point territory, but guarded tightly. Johnson cuts left, now fires a three. It is good, and he's fouled. It counts, and he is fouled.
Do you believe it? He did what?
Hour 2. Okay, I got to begin this segment by asking a very important question to Shane Lake, who's my guest on the other side of the line. And for all you NBA junkies, the question goes like this. Why is LeBron still considered an MVP candidate?
Because everybody is a stand for LeBron, including ESPN. I mean, geez, everyone's head shoved so far up LeBron's ass they could tell what he had for breakfast 3 days ago.
I said on this program, and you heard me say it, that if anybody deserves to be in the MVP conversation outside of Giannis, it would be Anthony Davis. And people think I'm nuts. Why? Why do people think I'm nuts?
Because everyone is a stand for LeBron. LeBron this, LeBron that. I mean, look at all the major networks. They're covering him like doggone white on rice. I mean, give me a break here. The funny thing is, we're talking about LBJ. I was actually talking with somebody on Discord not too long ago who's doing a paper on the media and how much it influences what people believe when it comes to sports. And he was talking about LBJ. And the first thing I flat out said was, since 2003, LeBron's been shoved so far down our throats, we just hate him for the fact that he's here. I mean, take away the fact that, yes, he's a decent player. I mean, top 20.
Right.
But the fact But the fact of the matter is, he's been shoved so far down our throats, we hate him. I mean, if it wasn't for ESPN and Fox and all of them shoving him down our throats, we might actually tolerate the guy.
I agree with that. You know what someone will make the argument for? That MJ was shoved down their throats. And I'm like, really?
Yeah, but the fact is Michael deserved it.
Yeah. Michael actually played basketball. Michael actually played defense.
Michael actually transformed the game.
Michael actually was fun to watch.
Michael actually didn't have to bully his way down the lane for 45 a night.
Nope.
He could score that on making Sports Center top 10 with every play.
Yeah. And there was one thing that Michael had that LeBron doesn't have consistently.
Teammates?
A jump shot.
That too. Michael also had Phil Jackson in his corner.
Yeah. Phil Jackson got Michael to trust his teammates. Phil Jackson got Michael to trust more in himself as well as his teammates.
Yeah, and because of that, Michael Jordan didn't have to try to get Phil Jackson fired.
True. But Michael did say he didn't want to play for anyone else. When a coach has that kind of influence on you, that's saying something. At least to me it does. Here's another question while we're talking NBA to all the NBA junkies. Why do people love the pairing with Russell Westbrook and James Harden so much? Why is that when it's the most volatile pairing I've ever seen?
Because it's more of a train wreck than the Kardashians? What other answer is there? It's a train wreck. It is a legit train wreck. It's one of those. It's like the big one at Talladega. You know what's going to happen. You watch it, you cringe, and then you turn back to see how many guys flipped over at the end of the day. Come on now. Quit giving me softballs, Brian. What is this, the home run derby?
Well, yeah, for now it is.
Well, I'll take these all day, man. I'll be swinging like Vlad at it.
I haven't had you on in a while, so I had to give you a couple of Ephus pitches. Okay.
Yeah, well, trust me, El Duque could end up hitting a strike zone with the way this is going.
Oh, no. And that's exactly the reference where I borrowed that from. Shane Lake, my super producer, joining me here on the program. Okay, we talked about LBJ. We're getting off that subject. Talked about Westbrook and Harden. Okay, let's stay on that. Let's stay on that. And I might just have to give you another lob, and it goes like this. Why are people so over the moon about what James Harden is averaging scoring-wise and not taking a look at the fact that he travels almost every time he has the ball? That step-back jumper is not consistent. He shoots the ball 40 times a game. And third of all, he's basically getting away with every rule break in the book to get to the line 14 times a night. What's the ballyhoo with James Harden while I'm throwing up softballs?
Because apparently stats are sexier than Studio 54 back in the 70s? I don't know. I mean, think about it, dude. Yeah, you just said it. He puts up, 45 shots a night. He goes to the line 14 times. But at the end of the day, how many points is he putting up?
Right.
That's what people care about. I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you get there. It just matters that you're putting the points up.
Right.
I mean, come on. Michael on average put up what? Half as many shots and got just as many points?
Yeah, if not more. If not more.
The late, great Kobe did the same thing.
Yep. Kobe was the closest thing to MJ that we've seen. I've said on this program that my first favorite player was Julius Erving. And Julius Erving was a complete player. People don't want to acknowledge that, but he was. Julius Erving was a complete player.
The only thing people want to acknowledge Dr. J for is the fact that he could dunk, not the fact that he had an 18-foot jumper.
Which sealed a world championship series, by the way, that he hit a jumper on Magic Johnson. Okay? He hit a jump shot, folks. With this COVID-19 going on, the commissioner states that we may not have an answer until May. When the NBA does come back, and I wanted to get you on for this question, how do we settle the season? And a backup question, how do we settle the playoffs? You got any ideas?
10-game regular season, best-of-5 series for the playoffs.
So all series go best of 5?
All series go best of 5.
I was thinking best of 3. Best of 3 up until the title series, then you go best of 5.
Give them best of 5. 10 games may not be enough for people to play through, but if they're still in the title picture, hey, give them a best of 5.
True. A friend of mine gave me this idea also. If the 8 and the 9 in either conference is separated by a half game, do we invoke a wild card game to see who would get the 8 spot?
Ooh. I like that.
I thought you would.
I like that.
Do you think let's put it all the way out there. You think the fans will eat it up? You think the fans will eat up a wild card game in the NBA?
If the fans are smart, they would, because it'd be great basketball. I mean, a one and done game for a chance to go to the postseason. I'd do it.
Yeah, I do it too. because they've always had on the final nights of the season, and it happened a couple of years ago where they would have one team that needed to win to get into the playoffs. So in effect, it would be a play-in game. So I like the idea of a wild card game. The only thing is you have to be within a half game of said 8 spot, and then we take one extra night, and like they do in Major League Baseball, and we settle it.
I'd be all about it. I like the idea.
I like the idea also. Shane Lake joining me here on the program while we're talking all things NBA. Who goes? Joel Embiid or Ben Simmons? Who goes?
Oh. Simmons.
Because?
Less drama for one, and for two, honestly, I'd take Embiid over Simmons for basic playing rights, let alone, attitude in the locker room.
The only thing I don't like about Embiid is that he can't stay healthy. He just cannot stay healthy, and now you're seeing the same thing with Ben Simmons. I would agree with you on sending Simmons packing, but for a different reason. Simmons doesn't have a jump shot.
There is that, but also you got to look at who'd be better suited for the locker room. I mean, I'd rather take somebody who's healthy 45 games out of the year that has the trust of the locker room than somebody who's healthy 80 games out of the year and people are pissed off at him.
Right. I absolutely agree with that. How do you fix this? What happens in Boston? You got Kemba Walker, which is great, and Kemba Walker has been – here's a point where we can touch. How much has Kemba Walker meant to the Boston Celtics in comparison to Kyrie Irving?
Night and day difference. I mean, he's shored up a spot that needed to be shored up. Kyrie was good, granted, but, I mean, Kyrie was only putting up, 25 a night, 6 or 7 assists and a handful of rebounds. Kemba Walker's putting up the numbers that you need for a team that, outside of him, struggles offensively.
And Kemba's healthy. Kyrie was not for 2 years.
Bingo. You get more usage out of him.
Yeah. So how does that lineup work? Well, let's do this. Kemba was a big difference and is a big difference in Boston. Now, the talk is that the Brooklyn Nets, I beg your pardon, would be a competitor with both Kyrie and KD on the floor. Agree or disagree?
Somewhat agree, but it depends on what happens with the rest of the East. I mean, you got to look at the fact that while we may not want to admit it, the Knicks may have something going down the road, but you're always going to have your perennials in there. You got Chicago, you got Boston, you got, you can go up and down. You got to figure that who are they going to have to step over to be a contender in the East? Can they actually beat them? And frankly, the answer is more often than not, no. But if you get a team that goes in wounded, there may actually be a shot for Brooklyn, but it's going to be a very long shot at best. I mean, if Brooklyn goes anywhere, they're a 7 or 8 seed, and they'll probably get bounced early anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, once upon a time, Brooklyn was a two seed, and now whenever we come back to play, they're looking at a 7 seed. They are looking at a 7 seed. Shane Lake joining me here. Going to pause for a break, and then I'll bring it back. We got some more stuff to discuss. Back in a flash.
Snowman in the Morning.
Holy on smoke!
Where true sports talk lives.
I like him. He's silly.
Shane Lake returns to join me as we continue on here on the program. All right, I got to touch this. I want your thoughts on WrestleMania 36 and where the WWE goes from here with the cinematic setup they had for WrestleMania.
Oh, this is a perfect lead into the fact that she and I are going to be kicking off a podcast next week. Oh, my God. What are we going to do with this? Okay. Let's just lay it out there. Mania 36, outside of the Firefly Funhouse match with Wyatt and Cena, outside the cinematic masterpiece that was Taker, AJ Styles, and the Boneyard match, and outside maybe one or two other matches, for all intents and purposes, was a bit of a flop. But dealing with what's been going on in the world, they had to work with what they had to work with. Cinematic-wise, the Boneyard match was beautifully shot. I mean, the story that AJ and Taker told was beautiful.
Yeah.
Taker came back as American Badass 2.0. He actually fused, and he said this in a podcast himself, he fused himself, Mark Calloway, he fused the Phenom, and he fused the American Badass to come up with this 2.0. And he told a great story. It just proves that the guy might be getting up there in age, but he can tell a story.
Yeah, he can.
And AJ helped sell it beautifully. So the cinematic matches give me more of them. I mean, when you want to have a great blow-off match, do it cinematically.
True.
I mean, this was amazingly done. I mean, they said they shot it in 8 hours. They must have had a lot of content to edit to come down to this.
I bet.
And the way it ended, and there's a lot of speculation that if this was Taker's last match, and we're not 100% sure, I mean, it is the dead man after all, but if this was Taker's last match, he's going out on a story of a lifetime.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe that. What's your favorite Mania match of all time? I got a few in my chamber.
Oh, where do I want to begin Mania-wise? WrestleMania 30, Daniel Bryan with Yeselmania. The fact that he not only had to beat Triple H to get to the main event, but then he had to beat both Randy Orton and Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
To win the championship. That was massive.
And that was in the Superdome.
I mean, that was a feel good for sure. But, you know, for me, WrestleManias have always been about the stories that go into it, because it's either lighting the fuse for, you know, a program between a couple of people, or it's always been a huge blow off for a couple of people.
Right.
You look at the fact of how many times Taker has feuded with people and it's ended at WrestleMania. You look at the fact of John Cena stepping up to the biggest stage of them all and having matches that were just mind blowing.
Yes.
And then you look at some of these guys putting on a show for like the Money in the Bank match, where you know, climbing up the ladder, retrieving a briefcase. Those matches always stole the show. So it's always just been dependent on the card. I mean, this year you had Edge and Randy Orton on relatively short notice, only a few months, put together a program that saw them competing in a last man standing match.
Yeah.
I mean, that was massive for those two. So, again, it just depends on what leads into it for me. I mean, every WrestleMania has a uniquely different feel to me.
Yeah, it does.
I enjoyed this year for what it was worth. I mean, like I said, granted, if it was held in Tampa, it would have been vastly different. But for what we had, it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give you that. So how are you dealing with the corona, with being quarantined? How are you dealing with it? How's your family dealing with it?
She's been doing a lot of sewing, and she does get out every little bit with, you know, friends and whatever, just kind of getting out of the house. I've been out shopping, but for the most part, just stepping up with my gaming, trying to do a little bit of streaming on Twitch here and there. Been homeschooling the kiddo. Outside of that, really not much has changed.
Yeah. My wife and I get up, go to work, get the essentials we need, and then come home. The hours have changed. Some of the delivery options have changed. We're just in a weird time right now, and it's also an unprecedented time right now.
It's one of those once in a lifetime situations that you got to wonder, how exactly are we going to rebound from this? As a whole in the entire nation.
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird time. A lot of businesses are closing to prevent the spread of the coronavirus, and I don't blame them. The social distancing situation is in place. Don't blame that either. But wow, it's still crazy. And people still ask me, how can you talk about sports and there's no live sports to talk about? Well, the NFL draft is coming up, and I want to get your take on this. I want your take on how they're going to handle the NFL draft this year.
It sounds like to me they're doing a lot of either webcamming or FaceTiming or whatever, and they're still going to hold the draft as if everybody was there anyway. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's the NFL's way of bringing a little bit of normalcy to the world. I mean, look at what other pro sports have been doing. You've got MLB that has been streaming games simulated on MLB 20.
Right.
The show. You got that going on. You've also got them airing old games on YouTube. You got NASCAR on Fox airing old stuff. You got them doing the iRacing thing, which you and I have, I think, a little something to discuss there in a minute.
We will get to that.
But, I mean, it's just a sense of normality in a way, just still trying to do something to bring at least a couple hours of, resemblance of a normal life to people.
Yeah, resemblance being the operative word. And iRacing, and I'm going to give you the floor for this, iRacing had an incident recently.
iRacing has had 2 incidents recently in the past couple of weeks. I mean, you had Bubba Wallace at Bristol rage quitting after Blue Emu. For those of you guys that don't know, it's like a cream that helps heal muscles and everything else. I mean, Johnny Bench pitches it, for crying out loud. Blue Emu dropped Bubba Wallace as a driver because he rage quit during an iRacing event that was aired on Fox.
Wow.
Granted, Bubba got wrecked out, but at the same token, Blue Emu paid for the sponsorship on his car. You drive till the car gets broke. I mean, that's what I do, and I'm not even a paid driver.
Right.
I mean, I've run God only knows how many events, and I've only ended up quitting because of the fact that my car got knocked out.
Yeah.
That's incident number 1. Incident number 2 happened Sunday night, and it has still been snowballing since, leading to the fact of Kyle Larson. I know a lot of people are like, don't tell me he did something stupid. I hate to say it, people. He did. Kyle Larson just shot himself in the foot, and it just blew out everything else in the process. He uttered one of the words you never say in this world.
Ever.
Unless you want your head ripped off.
Yep.
And he thought he said it on a closed line because what bothers me is how casually the word was said.
Yeah.
Not just the fact it was said, but how casually it was said.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even really bring myself to even come anywhere close to the word, but I'm sure if y'all go down south and say a certain word, there's the clue on how bad it is.
Yeah, I mean, that word should not be uttered at all. No. It just should not be uttered at all, no matter how crazy a situation can get. And then on top, shucks, he's getting every piece of reprimand that he basically earned by saying the wrong word.
He's had sponsors drop him from Credit One to Clover to McDonald's to Chevrolet to Coke. The fact is, they said, yeah, we'll stay on your car, but we don't want to stay with him.
Mm-hmm.
First off, Ganassi ended up suspending him without pay. NASCAR then suspended him, said he had to go through sensitivity training.
Mm-hmm.
And then today, the sponsors have pushed so far that Ganassi said, we're just going to cut ties with Larson.
Mm-hmm.
All in the span of roughly
72
maybe
hours.
48 hours.
Yeah.
No, it was 40. It was 48, dude. I mean, this happened on Sunday, and we're only on Tuesday night, so this
That's
happened
right.
maybe 48 hours ago.
Yeah. Oops.
And in 48 hours, Kyle Larson's career has gone
down the toilet.
Nosedive. I mean, I haven't seen anything like this in NASCAR, and I've been watching 30 years, dude. I have seen nothing like this past couple of weeks.
Incredible.
And that says something, because I have seen controversies that make you wonder, wait, what? And for me to say that this takes, the past 2 weeks take it all, that says something.
It does. It does. Shane Lake joining me here on the program, part 2 of which, and remember, folks, you can catch the podcast later on today, and you will definitely hear both parts of this conversation. Thanks a lot, my friend. Appreciate the time.
Anytime, brother.
More, I say, after this.
This is Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
I haven't had many folks here on the show from fullpresscoverage.com except for Mike Debate, and we talk general NFL. But now we're going to get a little specific, and we're going to talk my favorite team, the 49ers. The man in charge of Full Press 49ers is on with me right now. This is Ryan Adverdorada, and he joins me right now. How are you, my man?
I'm doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me on today.
Do you know how sweaty I was the night of the Super Bowl, and we were up 10 against the Chiefs, and the back of my mind was saying, I have a feeling Patrick Mahomes is going to do some Patrick Mahomes stuff.
Yeah. So I was sitting on my couch, did not move from that seat, and when Sparrismore had that interception, I wanted to, normally any game I'd be like, that's it, that's the nail, we're done, I can start celebrating. And I just sat there waiting. I just wanted to get it under, 2 or 3 minutes. Just give us 10 points with a 2 or 3 minute lead, and we're good. And as the Chiefs' offense just started going, I just sat there quietly. I didn't say anything. I just had that feeling of like, is this going to happen to us again?
Yeah. Where do the 49ers go? Which way do the 49ers lean with the draft coming? Because my thought is they go defense to replace DeForest Buckner. And the fellow I had in mind is Javon Kinlaw out of South Carolina. Which way are you leaning in mocking the 49er draft?
Honestly, I mean, that would be a great pickup for them. I mean, Javon Kinlaw is a tremendous talent coming out of a very, defensive-rich conference in the SEC, and he stood out. Now, it's a little tough sometimes to just look at it because, you think, okay, you got rid of DeForest Buckner, and you're basically using that pick that you got for him, and you're just basically drafting his replacement. Now, the biggest thing that I see is, Buckner seems like a guy who probably is this is just from looking at the tape so far, just someone who strikes me as a little bit more athletic than Kinlaw. But that's not that too much of an issue. I think Kinlaw could lean out a little bit more, become a lot more disruptive in the pass rush. But I mean, if you go with him there at 13, that would obviously, fill in that hole that was left there. And people were talking about, well, what about someone like DJ Jones or anyone else filling in for Buckner? Those guys are not those 3 technique guys that Buckner was. Eric Armstead can fill that role in, passing situations, but he's not going to be there during rundowns. He's going to be on the outside, in base formation. So Kinlaw would make sense for me. Obviously, a lot of other people are also clamoring for one of the receivers, whether that's CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Jeudy or Henry Ruggs. I personally would love to see them trade down even just a few spots. And even if it's just 1 or 2 spots I think they can still get someone like Kinlaw. But quite frankly, I mean, Kinlaw, the closer I get to the draft, the more and more I think they're going to pick Kinlaw. As much as I would love to get someone like Henry Ruggs with his speed or CeeDee Lamb with just his ability, or even Jerry Jeudy, it's just they can find someone later in the draft. This wide receiver class is so deep, and they can probably find someone in rounds 2 through 5 if they can trade back and pick up some picks.
And the receiver I had mocked for San Francisco later in the draft, and this name just flashed across my board, so I did some quick research on him. Denzel Mims out of Baylor.
Yeah, that's actually a very good pick there. If they were to get someone like Mims, I like him. He's very athletic, obviously. Now, what he doesn't have in the route running, I'm not too worried about. I mean, because let's be honest, someone like Deebo Samuels wasn't known as a prolific route runner in college,
right?
And we have, the 49ers have someone in Kyle Shanahan who will get you open. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the best route runners on that wide receiver, even in the tight end group. I'm perfectly fine with saying that, someone like George Kittle is not an expert route runner by any means, even at this point in his career. But yet that guy finds ways to get open, and he'll scheme them open. And we just need guys who can basically make plays and who can do things one-on-one. And that's, that was really the biggest issue even in the postseason. And we saw that in the Super Bowl where it became, let's just target Deebo Samuel. And I think that's what kind of became an issue late in the game was the Chiefs were able to take away, 1 or 2 weapons and just say, okay, well, beat us with everyone else.
Yeah.
And so I think, Denzel is definitely someone, I honestly could see them also if they were to trade back from 13 and just get a bunch of picks for, the second through like 3rd or 4th round, even picking up another receiver, maybe someone else, maybe in the mid to late 1st round, if they traded back there. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, there's just a lot of wide receivers that are available. I really like Mims. I'm a big fan of Jalen Reagor. Just the sheer athleticism that he has, and I think he's someone who can be very, very special in the league. But I mean, at this point, if you're picking any one of your top 5 wide receivers, you're probably going to get a guy who can really produce, especially in this offense.
Especially in this offense, like you said, let's bring back another Baylor receiver who didn't see any time after the preseason because of an injury. Jalen Hurd, also out of Baylor. How can he fit in this 49ers system?
So Jalen Hurd is a very interesting person and a piece really in that offense, because size-wise, everyone's talked about it. He's a big guy. I believe he's like 6'3". He's built like a running back. I mean, he was a running back. There's been talk about possibly moving him with the tight ends group, which I get. I mean, he's size-wise is close to what you would expect in a smaller tight end.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely try to get him on linebackers and smaller safeties. He doesn't have the breakaway speed, and he does have a bit to learn about route running, but he's a guy who you saw in the preseason last year was able to kind of make some plays because of his size, because of his experience, with carrying the football, and that, experience a lot of wide receivers don't have. And I think if he's healthy, that's a big if, because, those types of injuries, it's really hit or miss depending on if he can come back. But if he's back and he can be close to 100%, if not exactly 100%, then that would make the decision a lot easier on draft day. And I think if guys like Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, if they know that they can count on her to be there, well, then I think they end up, not having to worry about the wide receiver position in the first round, second round. They might just wait until the later rounds and find someone that they can probably plug in to do a specific duty, like someone who can go over the top or something like that. I think he's going to be a great complement to someone like Deebo Samuels, because then you have another physical receiver. It'll be interesting, but I mean, if he's healthy, then that wide receiver core immediately jumps up a lot higher than where it was last year.
Why do you think Matt Breida did not see as many carries the second half of the season as he did the first half of the season?
Honestly, I don't think it was much. I mean, I do think part of it was he started having some turnover issues. We saw that towards the latter half of the season. And the way that offense was running, it became, play with the hot hand, especially at the running back position. We saw how good that offensive line was at just opening huge holes there. And I think it just became an issue of Raheem Mostert started getting a lot more carries and getting a lot more playing time because of his explosiveness. And you basically had 2 players in Mostert and Breida who both have breakaway speed. The only difference was Mostert was showing that he had more versatility and he was more sure-handed with the football. And I think that's what it came down to. I'm a big Matt Breida fan and have been since he was signed as an undrafted free agent.
Same here.
But it's just, yeah, exactly. I mean, the fact he went to one of those schools, the Georgia Southern and everything, that was a huge thing for me. But, someone like Breida, you hope that he gets a chance again, but it just became that running back room is so, honestly, it's so talented that you have to wonder if he's going to enter next season with the possibility of, you're looking at probably Tevin Coleman, Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and I believe you still have McKinnon there. So then you have 4 or 5 guys who, I mean, maybe Wilson wouldn't be a starter anywhere else, but I mean, you have at least 4 guys who would probably start for just about any other team in the league. Yeah. And you have them battling out, and there's only so many touches you can go around. And I think at the end of last season, it just became right a hot hand. And let's be honest, Mostert was on a tremendous tear. And, I think if he was a guy who got more touches in the Super Bowl game, then we're talking about a different outcome.
Does Mostert start the season as the starting tailback for the 49ers?
I think barring some type of injury, I think he does. It'd be hard to go away from him because of how the end of the season went, the regular season. That game that he had against, basically the last few games he had. And then, of course, the playoff run where he just, he went off. He went crazy. And then you go into just how it was in the Super Bowl. It's hard for anyone to say that he doesn't already deserve the starting job. Now, when it gets into, we learned this past year how quickly things can change for Kyle Shanahan and his coaching staff. I mean, we saw what happened with Dante Pettis, how he went from seemingly being a main focal point, and by about week 4 or 5, he suddenly disappeared. So I think if you can have someone like Mostert basically show up, stay healthy during the preseason, and basically just look like he is taking things seriously like he has been, and, you know, he is basically still producing, I don't see them moving away from him as a starting back. But, I mean, if we've learned anything over the last few years of Kyle Shanahan's offense with the 49ers, it doesn't matter if you're the starting running back. It just matters how much you get used that day, because you could have someone who technically is listed as a starter that day at that particular game, and you have someone else who was listed as a second or third string guy suddenly get hot and they have the most touches. So realistically, I think he's going to be penciled in as a starter, but from week to week, I mean, that's obviously just going to change.
Yeah, and the best example of what you just the best example to illustrate what you just talked about is not being penciled in as a starter, but having the biggest contribution. Jeff Wilson, his game-winning catch against Arizona.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you look at that, I think that was his only play of the entire game.
It was.
I mean, he comes in, they basically run a play specifically designed for him, and it just took care of, you know, the perfect play call on defense for that play, where they basically had, and this is frustrating for me because I covered the Cardinals for a couple of years. I live in Arizona, so I root for them to be good.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm a 49er fan just like you, so I want the 49ers to do better.
Yes.
But you see someone who is probably one of the best pass rushers in the entire league, and you suddenly keep him to cover a fast running back, and you just had somehow, you know, Jimmy Garoppolo got throw out, and somehow Jeff Wilson saw the ball. So I mean, yeah, stuff like that where you might not get a single snap for 99% of the game, and then you come in with, you know, 30 seconds left, and they call a play for you, and you're the main receiver, and you have to deliver. And if you deliver whenever you're called upon, and we've seen it with someone like Raheem Mostert, you're going to get playing time. And that's all that matters, really, with that team. They just want you to do your job, and if you do your job, you'll get on the field.
Ryan Adverdirada joining me here, talking all things 49ers. Check him out as he covers the 49ers for FullPressCoverage.com, one of our flagship stations or flagship networks, I beg your pardon, for Snowman in the Morning. A couple other things for you. Do the 49ers need to address their offensive line with the age of Staley and them letting Mike Person go? And you got Weston Richburg coming back from an injury. Will there be any issues going into the draft along the offensive line that they may need to address?
I think the 49ers need to spend a good amount of time on the offensive line in the draft. And obviously, like you said, Joe Staley, we don't know if he's going to really come back next year, because there's obviously a lot of things in the air right now. But, you know, he maybe has another 1 or 2 seasons left, realistically. I mean, as good as he was even last year, and I think a bunch of, you know, different sites will tell you that he was one of the best left tackles while he was healthy, which he was. He was very good. But you can't expect him to play forever, obviously. So you put on maybe a timer of a year to 3 years tops.
Yeah.
And that's if we're being generous. And so that tells you need to replace your left tackle, because I don't foresee them moving McGlinchey over from right tackle to left tackle. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
He's getting too comfortable at right tackle. It's too late for that. I mean, if you're looking at, especially that 31st pick, there's a good chance that you're going to get one of the top 4 or 5 offensive tackles on the board still. If you're lucky, you have one of the top 2 inside offensive linemen available there, whether that's Ruiz, or I want to say I might mispronounce his name, but I believe it's Cushenberry. I'm not sure. I might be mistaken on that one. Yeah, Lloyd Cushenberry. So one of those 2 guys, if they're there, those 2, either Cesar Ruiz or Cushenberry would be good choices to play that right guard role that Mike Person played. Now, they released him because they basically are saying, okay, well, we're going to give this job to Daniel Brunskill as long as he deserves it. That's what they basically decided. They basically said, we're going to go younger. And Brunskill looked amazing last year, you know, in the time he was in there. So I think they could draft, you know, a guard if they really want to shore up that line, you know, for the immediate future, because someone like Ruiz is just going to come in and be a lot better.
Right.
That said, I mean, if they're looking at especially if they're looking at the offensive line, like you said, if they go, outside and go say, hey, let's look at one of the tackles. I mean, I have 4 or 5 guys who are first round worthy. Everyone from, Jedrick Wills from Alabama all the way to someone like Josh Jones from Houston. Mm-hmm. And you have a bunch of, it's 5 tackles on like I have on a list that has first round potential. And if you get any one of those guys, they could, plug and play, or you could sit them for a year. It's really one of those things where for the offensive line, you're going to want to look, and you got to think the 49ers are looking to repeat and go to the Super Bowl again.
Right.
So do you really want to invest a first round pick on someone who will not play in the first year, barring an injury? And that's kind of what it comes down to. So if they do go into the offensive line, I'm thinking they go with one of the guards, because that's the most, I guess, easiest to pick in terms of who's going to probably play. But that said, I mean, if they can get back into the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounds, there are guys who could probably come in and, maybe sit for a year, sit for 2 years possibly, and become your replacements. I mean, you always want to pick up offensive linemen, and we saw that last year with Justin Steele. You have guys who you can find the late rounds of the draft who can come in and be serviceable. So at this point, you don't necessarily need to get a game breaker at left tackle to replace Joe Staley, but if you can get someone late and not have to force your hand in the earlier rounds, I mean, why not?
Yeah, why not? Definitely. Oh, man, Ryan Advertirada joining me here talking all things NFC champion San Francisco 49ers. And I already said we are probably going to make plans for Tampa. We'll see how this season goes. I'd love to have you on each week, man, to talk all things 49ers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just it's going to be whenever the season starts, and hopefully it does start relatively soon. I can't wait, honestly.
Me neither.
All of this draft stuff is fun, but I mean, getting to finally see what happens with, and figure out, okay, are we making, wise prognostications here? I mean,
right.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to possibly finding my way into Tampa next year.
Same here. And if it happens, I will find you and I will join you in the press box in Tampa. Ryan Advertirada joining me here on the program. Thanks a lot, my friend. I truly appreciate it.
No, thank you for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.
More stuff for you in a deuce.
This is Snowman in the Morning.
I did not need to be told that.
Where true sports talk lives.
Excellent.
Can't wait. You know, I have to admit something aloud that I've only admitted to myself silently. Without live sports, I don't know what to do, what to criticize, what to talk about. I do find stuff to talk about because, you know, people and social media merge together. But I got to tell you something. Without having sports live, what have we missed so far? The Masters, that's gone by the wayside. The NCAA championships, men and women, that's been canceled, gone by the wayside. Baseball's gone. NCAA baseball is gone because they canceled all spring events. Major League Baseball is in a holding pattern. The NBA is in a holding pattern. The NHL is in a holding pattern. What do you do? There's not much to do, especially for sports fans. They've been running old games, and I have to say, being the old school man that I am, that's appreciated. It is really, really appreciated. But at the same time, what do you do? Well, for me, I've been binge watching the Holiday Baking Championships with my wife. I've been hard at work putting this show together for you fans that tune in, working on all my websites and keeping myself busy that way. I got enough old school sports on my computer to not fall by the wayside. And with a couple of leagues I've become disenchanted with, the NBA being one. So I miss it, but not that much. My wife's not a big time baseball fan, but I am. And I was looking forward to seeing two things, which may still happen. One, can the Washington Nationals defend their title? And two, can the Chicago White Sox be their opponent? Oh, did I put something out there I should not have? Oh, well. But there's a lot of anticipation of when everything will come back. The NBA won't have an answer till May. You know what I miss the most amidst this coronavirus pandemic? Aside of watching sports, I miss calling the games. Because those of you who know me or know of me, I also am a play-by-play announcer. And I miss calling the games, man. I miss being at the high school or college games. Getting the lineups, especially now with baseball, and I haven't done a full baseball season since 2016. And I was really looking forward to this season to finally put an end to that drought. Unfortunately, that drought is probably going to continue for another few months as I've relocated and I haven't found a summer team yet, but I'm still looking. I just miss being at the games. I guess that's why I've been so enchanted with some of the professional leagues. I miss calling the games more than watching them. I miss seeing the camaraderie in person. I miss seeing the events in person and being there and lending my voice to the action. I haven't done a state championship for basketball since 2015 with Marquette Catholic. 2016, I got close, and then some stuff happened with a certain individual that decided to lie on me. That's a story for Snowman Unfiltered. But since then, it's been hit or miss for me. And now with this coronavirus pandemic, I just really miss being at the games. I really miss coming into a stadium or an arena with my equipment, setting up my equipment, you know, talking to people that pass by, talking to people that are going to be assisting with the game, with the broadcast, I beg your pardon, I miss letting the people know when the broadcast is going to be live. I miss all of that. I guess that's one thing I miss more than anything else. You know, setting up, executing the broadcast, being tired after the broadcast, and that's a weird thing for me. But my friend Mark Farina, who was my baseball partner for 2 years, said it best. I get zoned in for a good 3 hours, and then my body and my brain just give out after it's all said and done. I miss that feeling. And I'm hoping soon to get back into it so I can continue to provide the voice that everyone looks for, that everyone talks about, and providing a service to the community that I'm in. That's the biggest thing that I miss doing.
I can't do it. We'll do it live. Okay. Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Time to rise and grind.
Are you kidding me? Holy un smoke!
And let's get this banter going.
It's bacon!
This is Snowman in the Morning.
Does anybody else feel like a fried egg?
And it begins now.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell,
I think I just broke my chair. He did what? Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?
There is but one cause for me to follow. Almighty the bomb!
And here we go.
Oh, yeah!
And that
It's hit pretty well and pretty deep to left. Gardner is going back, looking up. See you later!
You goddamn blank staggered black skeleton and blinkety black punk, are you trying to do? Of all that low dirty...
Michael on the drive across the lane. Turnaround shot. Got it. 63 for Jordan.
Do you believe it?
Murphy picked it out of midair to Amani. Set him on Roenick. Hawks win! Hawks win! Hawks win! Jeremy Roenick, after the giveaway was forced by Amani. What a play by Tony Amani. And Jeremy Roenick fired it home at the 123 mark. And the Blackhawks have come back from the dead in this series.
Hour 3. There has been so much conversation with this coronavirus pandemic that's going on. And believe me, it is a pandemic, because one of my best friends in journalism and in life had to go through it. He got through it, and he's here with me. This is Danny Thompson, and he joins me right now on the other side of the hotline. How are you, brother? Glad to have you.
You know what? It's good to be back. The whole thing of the coronavirus is fun. Quote unquote hashtag not really. But you know what? The good thing is that the results came back negative.
Yes.
But the whole process, it's a real process. Like when you see people talk about the nose swabbing,
yep,
that's real.
Yes.
Is the weirdest feeling in the world. People have asked me about it. What does it feel like? I'm like, they're sticking a thing in your nostril, in both of them, and they're digging for gold. It's the weirdest 20 seconds per nostril you'll ever feel, and then you have to wait for the results. It's like it's to me it's a life-changing experience, because I can say I'm blessed I came back negative. But those 12 days in between, Brian, let me tell you, stress is not even a word. But
I get
it's over and done with. Through the grace of God, we're having this conversation right now.
And
so I'm glad to talk about something other than the coronavirus. Let's talk hoops.
And does it not feel good to hug that little one a little bit tighter than that?
Who are you telling?
from father to father. And I can tell you, the first time I hugged my little girl before I lost her to a breathing issue at age 2, man, listen, you appreciate every little hug you get from your little ones. You know it as well as I.
Yeah, that hug was a little bit tighter, and just meant a little bit more. But it makes you just realize how important every day is, and how precious every 24 hours you get each day is. So it's a beautiful story, beautiful thing. Can't complain.
So let's talk some hoops. And over the course of the weekend, there was a conference call with President Donald Trump. I better address it correctly, because you know how I feel, and people will come after me. They will verbally come after me. You know this is what. Look, you've read my post.
I'll talk politics. I always talk politics. You already know this, bro. I know. So the second you mention anything in politics is like no one's wrong, no one's right. It's just basically everybody having a free for all. It's worse than Royal Rumble in WWE.
It's
the only thing about WWE is pre-scripted.
Wait. Let's go old school. It's a pre-scripted WWF Royal Rumble, and I'm talking about with a title on the line. I'm talking about the '92 Royal Rumble in Sacramento, where you had so many twists and turns that were written into it, and they were written into it. Come on.
I was gonna say 91 Ric Flair in Orlando.
Yeah.
when he debuted.
I love it. That's a separate conversation for another time. The conference call happened, and there was something that I said on one of my programs that people didn't believe will happen, that actually now is a possibility, that the NBA season is going to be cut short. And when I say cut short, I mean canceled.
It's, it's the doomsday scenario. It's the scenario nobody in the league wants to deal with. Now, they're trying, Brian, they're trying to find every way possible to finish this season somehow. And what hurt the NBA isn't what the NBA did or did not do, is what happened with China and the CBA over there. Because they were supposed to go back April 1st, now April 15th. Now they're back on hiatus again. Because everybody, it was under the impression that China had everything under control where those guys can go back.
Right.
Not playing with fans, but going to a point where they can go back and play.
Yes.
Now the issue is, can the teams get enough tests administered to all the players around the league, keep them quarantined, and find a location or two to keep them all together so they can finish the season somehow. Now, there's been one idea of sending everybody to Vegas and finishing the games there. Now, mind you, Vegas is a perfect place.
Yes.
There's a multitude of hotels within literally microseconds of the Thomas and Mack Center and the Cox Pavilion.
Yep.
They host NBA Summer League.
Yep.
And to be honest with you, if you've been to Summer League, both buildings, Cox and Thomas and Mack, are connected by a hallway.
Yeah.
So, and that's the best part of Summer League is because you can go to games in both arenas, but you don't have to touch Las Vegas sun in July.
Yes.
You can just literally go from one air-conditioned building to another one. You can finish both games. You can have games going on at the same time all day. You can really play 12 games a day.
Yeah.
In that format. That's one possibility. The other possibility I said was to send the Western Conference out to Vegas and put the Eastern Conference in either Atlantic City. Now, I'm not sure about the venues for Atlantic City. Orlando was as a possibility, and the reason why Orlando is because, remember, Orlando has hosted Summer League. If you've been inside Amway Arena, their practice facility is inside of Amway Center. So it's literally kind of like Thomas and Mack is connected by a hallway. You can literally play two games at the same time, one inside the big arena, of course, and you can play the other one inside the practice court.
Mm-hmm.
They talked about other ways of doing this, and also Orlando, where the arena is, there's about maybe 7 to 10 hotels, all literally within 2 blocks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you really want to do complete quarantine, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Meaning that you finish the regular season. Basically, there'll be no more East-West games in this situation played against each other. You'll probably get maybe 4 or 5 games, and then you start the playoffs. The real question is, you really can't do 7-game playoffs. You can't do 7-game series in this situation. It's too late in the year.
Mm-hmm.
And the doomsday scenario is, we have April 15th, a huge day in the NBA, Brian, and that's the day where, with the paychecks, because the paychecks will determine what happens with the league.
Yeah.
I think the conference call is one thing, but the owners are asking the players to take 50% pay cuts on April 1st. The players are saying, we'll give you 25%, but that doesn't start till mid-May. So that's the $64 doomsday question. Because I don't know if the owners want to evict that doomsday clause, which basically says they don't have to pay the players because of something like this, which means the players get nothing April 15th. The owners have a clause in the CBA they can trigger that. I don't know if that's in the best interest of the league with negotiations with the Players Association.
No,
I don't know if the owners want to. You don't want to hit that doomsday button. I don't know if they want to do it. It's not good. It's not good for either party because the players get mad because they have checks coming.
Yeah, and it's a situation that could go. It's a situation that could go either way. You don't want to trigger the doomsday button, but at the same time, there may not be much of a choice.
I mean, you saw what happened in Utah on Friday with Larry Miller. They laid off 80 employees.
Yep.
The Jazz laid off 80 employees yesterday. They furloughed. I mean, they let them go for right now because guess what? Owners are losing money. There's nothing coming in, and this is going to be the norm. I mean, we saw Adam Silver and company take less money. Their major employees, they took pay cuts too.
Yep.
So this is becoming serious. And it's funny because you look at back in soccer overseas. I think it was Real Madrid, Lionel Messi and Barcelona. Those guys, they gave up their salaries to the club so that nobody lost their jobs. They turned away money.
Right.
I think Messi or Ronaldo gave away $11 million in guaranteed money just to make sure these guys, their staff, not just the people in what we call the clubhouse, but the workers, people who are employed, don't lose their jobs because ownership's not making money.
Right.
So now I wonder, would the NBA players do that for the people who are about to be furloughed? I mean, like I said, the Jazz just lost 80 employees yesterday or Friday. That's just the start of things.
Yeah.
If this thing drags on potentially into the summer, who knows what's going to happen?
And
we don't know, Brian. Like I said, and you mentioned it earlier on a couple of shows before. The NBA does not want to trigger that doomsday button because the real question is, if the NBA triggers that clause and says their season's done, what does that do for the NHL? What does that do for Major League Baseball? What does that do for MLS? I mean, you got that conference call today, Brian. The conference call on Saturday. you had everybody on that conference call with the exception of the NCAA.
Yep.
Every single major commissioner or person who runs a professional sports organization. Adam Silver, you had Roger Goodell. You had
Rob Manfred.
Val Ackerman.
Yep.
Vince McMahon.
Mm-hmm.
You had everybody on this call today.
A who's who who leads a professional sports organization was on that conference call on Saturday. And
the Francis from the NASCAR, everybody was involved in this.
Yes.
And so when I saw Adam Schefter pull that tweet out today on Saturday, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, I saw that Saturday. And before
it's getting serious, I'm like,
before we came on today, we posed that very same question. If the NBA, who was the first professional league to shut down, pulls the trigger and activates that doomsday clause, what does it do for the rest of professional sports? Part A. And part B, something a lot of people, save you and I, don't want to look at. How long does it stay activated?
I think the thing is, I think if they pull the trigger on this season and just end it completely, I think we're back in October.
Yeah.
The only question is, see, the problem is the NBA didn't have a champion, and
True.
they don't want. They've had a champion every single year, and I don't think no professional league doesn't want not to have a champion.
Right.
Now, I think the best way to solve this problem, honestly, is you might want to go NCAA tournament style.
Right.
Everybody gets one game.
One and done.
You do the one and done. You give everybody 2 weeks. You get the 8. You get the 16 playoff teams.
Yes.
2 weeks. You let them get back into basketball shape.
Mm-hmm.
You let them do what they need to do.
Yep.
Even if you have to quarantine them to Vegas, I get it.
Yeah.
You basically, what you can do is you can play best 2 out of 3 if needed to.
Mm-hmm.
You do one game. You do one game for the opening round. 2 out of 3 for everything else. This thing gets done. We can finish summer league. In 2 weeks.
And it's a sprint.
We can get the playoffs done.
It would literally be a sprint to a championship. It would be 1999 all over again. Although this would be
even faster.
Much short. Yeah, it would be shorter and faster. It'll be. It'll be micro ball. Basically, because you're bringing the miniseries back. No, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. It's not ideal. But at the same time, if you want to be sure everybody's health stays in order, because it's slowly starting to bounce back. Slowly. And I emphasize the word slowly. It's slowly starting to bounce back. But at the same time, everything is the social distancing, which is a stupid term to me because it's physical distancing. The social distancing is in effect until April 30th. So not only is the 15th of this month very important, but so is April 30th, because that's when the moratorium on social distancing is supposed to be lifted. Okay. And being here in North Carolina, we're all waiting until May 18th when the high school sports season is supposed to resume. And I'm praying it resumes because I need my microphone right about now, but that's a different story. But at the same time, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, do I need to say anything
every girl in the country knows that. Every girl in the country knows this. Don't worry, we all know.
But let's continue to be serious. But you can bring back the mini-series for every round except the opening round. Yeah, it's not an ideal situation, but at the same time, if you want to get maximum results in a short amount of time, bring the miniseries back for the conference semifinals, the conference finals, and then the World Championship Series. You get everything done. The players get a chance to rest and extend their rest. You can schedule everything on time, including one of the biggest events aside of Summer League, the NBA Draft.
And I'll be honest with you. I mean, Brian, if the NBA pushed, I would say, to start the mini playoffs, like this idea, June 15th, after Father's Day.
Yes.
We started after Father's Day. We could be done essentially by July 1st.
Yes. Yes.
As long as they say we just put them in Vegas, and just like I said, the first round games. You get enough time to get enough tests for the 16 teams in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that there's teams chasing for the final playoff spots. I get it, but something has to give here.
Yeah. And it has to give now.
Okay, there's nobody within a half game of the final playoff spot right now.
No.
Okay, the closest I think is 3 games right now. There's nobody that's like literally 1 game away from making the playoffs. I see teams making runs. I get it.
You have to.
The ideal thing would be 7 to 10 games.
Yep.
But we don't have that.
You can add this. You can add this as well. If there were teams within a half game of the number 8 spot, you take a page out of Major League Baseball's book and you institute a wild card game.
Have a playing game.
Yep.
That's what it is. Or if you want to do it that way, have 8 play 9, and then basically where that game goes to play, goes to get, they can become snacks for LeBron and Giannis in the first round. There we go. There we go.
You don't get that much time to celebrate anyway because you got to go up against King James and King Giannis.
Basically, you have a chance to deal with. You got the Greek Freak and you have King James in the opening round. If you want to give that 9th seed their chance.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
But
you can have a wild card. You can have a wild card game, and the wild card game would be very exciting. But at the same time, it kind of fits. Seeing this past Saturday should have been the Final Four in Atlanta, and I was looking forward to that. Seeing how they would configure Mercedes-Benz Stadium, like that's another conversation for another time. It would be the first 4. It would be the first 4, but in this case, it would be 8 versus 9. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
That could be a situation they could incorporate 8 versus 9. But the only difference is,
or if you really want to have a little bit of fun, 7 versus 10, 8 versus 9. The 2 winners go in the. Basically, you're allowing the 1 and 2 seeds to kind of have a bias, kind of sort of, and 7 and 10, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Get 1 game shot in the playoffs,
and a coin flip to where it's played. And a coin flip to where it's played.
Oh no, everything's in Vegas. Everything's in Vegas.
Oh, okay.
Just keep you keep everybody in one area. There's no reason to be traveling.
Right.
You know, if we get a June 15th date, let's say June 15th or after Father's Day,
yes,
that gives the NBA enough time to get the 16, 18, whatever how many teams are getting tested.
Yes.
It gets them to get enough tests involved, get all the results back.
Mm-hmm.
After that point, you make it mandatory. Nobody leaves the house.
Yes.
Nobody goes anywhere.
Right.
You do not. Or what you do is you get them all in Vegas. You all test them after Mother's Day.
Mm-hmm.
You basically send them to Vegas on Mother's Day.
Yep.
You get them tested once before they leave. Then you have a mandate. Everybody shows up at a certain time. When the test got clear, at that point, you test them again, and you keep them all quarantined.
Mm-hmm.
You have enough hotels in Las Vegas. There's enough hotels. There's enough hotels to keep everybody happy.
Yes.
Families stay home.
Mm-hmm.
We play. I know we don't want to play empty arenas, but listen, the players have. I know. Like for example, LeBron doesn't want to play empty arenas. I get it. The crowd gets these guys into it. We all want that.
Yes.
The other part is you keep. I hate to say this, you keep the media out of this.
Yeah.
You don't need any more hands on this.
Right.
You just keep the television partners, and you only have one television partner, whether it be ESPN or Turner, which would lead to NBA TV.
Yes.
You only have one set, and you have 2 sets of announcers. One that's going to be doing games at Cox. One's going to be doing games at Thomas and Mack. You keep them in their areas.
Yes.
They're not allowed to be around the public. They're not allowed to leave their hotels. It's basically arena, bus, hotel. That's it.
That's it.
And then you get this thing done, you said, Brian, in 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
The draft, we can push the draft into July. I'm okay with that.
We can. You can push it to mid.
I'm okay with that.
You can push the draft back to when the Major League Baseball All-Star Game was to take place. You can have it that week. Or that Thursday night.
And then you start free agency, right after that.
Right. And then you allow the players. Then you allow the players to rest. Then you get your Then you get your summer league games in, and we're on target for October. But at the same time,
and then you kind of have a better scale of what's going on in the country when it comes to this pandemic. If we're talking, like I said, you start in June. That's essentially, Brian, what we're talking 8 weeks away.
Yeah.
You know, you're basically saying, here's what we're going to do. I know this isn't ideal, but what would hurt the most is, as a fan, especially if you're a Lakers fan, you're a Bucks fan, or a Clippers fan, you are this close to a championship.
Yes.
The Clippers have never seen one. The Bucks haven't seen one since Kareem and Oscar were together.
Yep.
Giannis has a time over his head.
Yes.
If somehow they don't win a championship this year, that time starts ticking.
Yeah.
The time is ticking.
And I stick to my convictions. If the Bucks do not see a title this season, and I know Giannis is tied to the Bucks for another year, but at the same time, if they don't get it done, Giannis is out.
You got to figure. The thing is, as not even as Giannis being out, as crazy as it sounds, if you're the Bucks, you might have to start thinking, do I trade this guy?
Right. And try to get the maximum for him.
I mean, and I know the Golden State Warriors have the most draft capital of anybody.
Yep.
Or immediate draft capital.
And the Warriors, you listen, we'll talk about this at another time. The Warriors are licking their chops, okay? The Warriors have
if the ping pong balls fall in their favor and they get that Timberwolves pick.
Uh-huh.
But the Timberwolves pick has to be in the top 5. It has to be number 5 or number 6.
Yes.
Because I think it's top 3 protected. When it's top 3 or top 5 protected.
Yes.
If they get conveyed that pick this year and they end up with the number 1 overall pick with a third player, a third first round pick,
mm-hmm.
and you're telling the Bucks you can either take Andrew Wiggins or Draymond Green, which are more likely to be Andrew Wiggins,
mm-hmm.
if you're the Bucks. If you're the Bucks, that's a hard thing to say no to.
Yeah, it is. I
mean, you have a chance to draft Baby Ball with the first overall pick.
Yep.
And then you have a chance to get Obi Toppin or James Wiseman.
Yep.
You fill all your holes. Chris Middleton's still an all-star. You either get Draymond Green or you get Andrew Wiggins back. So you get something in return. You have a third first-round pick. You're never going to get value for Giannis.
No.
There's nothing in the league that you can trade for him to say it's even.
Mm-hmm.
There's not one player in the league. You can't trade LeBron for him. He's 35 going on 36.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis is the closest player value-wise, but Anthony Davis has an injury history.
Value-wise, it's close. Skill-wise, it's not close. Let's just
and
be
also,
real.
You got to factor Anthony Davis's health.
Yes, because he has not played, and I've said this quite a few times on this program. You've heard me say it. Anthony Davis has yet to play a full season since he's been in the NBA, and this is since 2012.
I don't care about full season. You got to give me 60. You got to give me 75 games.
And he hasn't
75.
And he hasn't played 75
in a while, in a long time. And that's the thing. Like, if Davis plays 74, 75 games, I think you can do that deal any day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
That's the closest you're going to get. I love James Harden. That doesn't make sense. Steph Curry.
No.
I love Steph Curry, but that doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. And Steph Curry's not going anywhere. Steph Curry is tied to the bank.
The only other obstacle you're looking at, maybe Luka Doncic, if you look at for a long-term fit.
True. Very true.
But I mean, I'm telling you, I think Mark Cuban pulled that trigger 3 days from tomorrow.
You put
Giannis and Kristaps Porzingis together. Whew.
Oh boy, dangerous. Dangerous. You know Cuban will pull that trigger blindfolded. He'll pull that trigger blindfolded. You know that.
I don't know if he pulled it blindfolded. I think he would think about it because Luka's only 21 years old.
True.
21, and he's only getting better. I mean, you got to think about it for a second, but I don't see why you wouldn't pull the trigger. But it's not something you say yes to immediately. You have to think about it.
You really do.
But that might be the only player you think about. Every other player in the league, you snatch him up in a second.
Yep.
But another day, another topic.
Yep. Yeah, another day, another topic. Let's pause for a second. Danny Thompson on the other side of the break when you all get back.
Snowman in the Morning, where true sports talk lives.
He did what?
I did not need to be told that.
Danny Thompson hanging out with me, and we gave our scenarios, or he gave his scenario, and it's a damn good one on how the NBA can come back. But speaking of NBA, how about some current good news? And I'll mention 4 players: Tamika Catchings, Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett. Let's see, who am I missing? I don't know. Some guy named Kobe Bryant. Over the course of the weekend, all were elected to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. You want to talk about a star-studded class? Folks, you got one. You got one.
And you know what? And the thing is, we don't even mention Rudy Tomjanovich or Eddie Sutton.
No,
2 of the best coaches.
Oh.
Eddie Sutton's one of the most underrated college coaches of all time.
Yes.
And Rudy T, he was the coach of Clutch City.
Yep.
You really, and I mean, he was a pretty good ball player, but even better coach. And this Hall of Fame class. But we all knew this class was coming.
Yes, we did.
I had circled this. I had circled the Hall of Fame date the second they had changed the rule for Kobe Bryant,
right,
to go into the Hall of Fame with those guys before even the passing happened.
Yeah, that
was on my list of things I had to do as a basketball fan, as a journalist, whatever it had to be. I had to be in Springfield because one of the few things I had on my bucket list, I wanted to see and hear what Kobe Bryant's Hall of Fame speech would have been.
Same,
because I could only imagine, because we hear the stories of Kobe now from different players.
Yep.
I can only imagine what Kobe would have had to say about being in the Hall of Fame. It would have been about 20. I mean, because Garnett's speech is going to be amazing anyway. Okay. Tim Duncan, a lot of folks don't get to see Tim Duncan's personality. I've seen it. Yep. He's a very personable guy. Yeah, he doesn't seem like the person is. It's the same with Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi has a personality that people say behind closed doors isn't what we see, in front of the media. He's a different type of guy.
Yeah.
He's very funny, low key.
Oh, yeah.
But Kobe Bryant, we have seen as the assassin, the Black Mamba, the coldest player in the league since Michael Jordan when it comes to.
Period.
Is. I mean, he emulated Michael so much in so many different ways. But, we all, as we saw with Jordan's Hall of Fame speech, Jordan became human for a bit of time.
Yeah.
He showed his human side. We saw, that's where the crying Jordan came from, because he cried during the Hall of Fame speech.
Yep. I mean,
Kobe would have cried probably.
I thought that MJ improvised that entire speech. I did. I really thought, if you listen to how Michael delivered it, through all the emotion, through the multiple standing ovations, the players that he mentioned, and people are saying, oh, he took shots at everybody. Listen, he took shots at everybody when he was on the floor, okay? He took shots at everybody when he was on the floor because they challenged him to beat him, and he did, all right? Get over it.
At the same time, Michael Denton's career was take shots. Yeah. It doesn't matter.
Right.
When he was on the court, he took shots. Not players. He took shots with the ball in his hand.
Yep.
You expected him to pass with a Hall of Fame speech? Come on now.
No. I mean, I've been asked so many times, being from Chicago, seeing the man play for 13 years, do you think he was making fun? Look, he made Hall of Fame players look silly with the ball in his hand. You think he wouldn't pass up an opportunity to make them laugh and make them smile on a Hall of Fame speech? And, oh, by the way, folks, like I said, when Mike gave his speech and I gave a review on it some time back, listen to me carefully. He made them laugh during his Hall of Fame speech. He illustrated what kind of person he was and the teammates that he had, and he had everybody standing and cheering for him, a friend or foe, opponent or not, during those 33 minutes. If you could take Michael Jordan's 15-year career and encapsulate it into 33 minutes, Hall of Fame speech.
He did it. And I just would love to see Shaq, because I think Shaq's the one that's going to induct him into the Hall of Fame. Do this, the pre-log.
I mean,
and
I would. My two choices.
That's what I would do.
My two choices to induct Kobe would have been MJ or Shaq, or both.
I think Shaq would. I mean, MJ is one thing, but I think Shaq would have been better because there's nobody that got Kobe to the level of Kobe without Shaq.
True.
And I'll say it like this. The reason I say is that, oh yeah, Kobe was this, Kobe was that. Listen, Kobe was an 18-year-old rookie.
Yep.
When him and Shaq got together.
Mm-hmm.
Shaq was the face of the Lakers, but Shaq saw something in him.
Yeah, he did.
And just like everybody else saw something in Kobe, Shaq was able to let Kobe bring it out of him. Because to be honest with you, when you have the most dominant big man in basketball,
yep,
and it makes things easier. Not to say Kobe didn't work, not to say Kobe did not earn everything he did, but if Kobe Bryant would have been a Laker without Shaquille O'Neal, or Kobe Bryant would have been a Charlotte Hornet, this might not have turned out the same way.
True. I'll give you that. I will give you that. It's the same way, and I'll make this comparison. It's the same way MJ saw everything in Scottie that Shaq saw in Kobe.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not saying Shaq. I'm not saying that Kobe and Scottie are on the same level, because that's not the debate here, or even the argument here. It's just the fact of Shaq was able to bring out a young Kobe Bryant, and he knew. I guess Shaq, you go back, listen to Shaq back in the early part of the 2000s, even when he was Lakers, like, this is the future of the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
He's even said it many a times, and he saw it. And the thing was, the Lakers were almost unbeatable because Shaq would beat you up for 3 quarters, and Kobe would finish you off in the 4th.
Yep. And in the 2001 World Championship Series, Kobe did. Shaq didn't have to do much, even though he was named Finals MVP. But who put the Sixers away in 2001?
Well,
who put Philadelphia away?
The Sixers front office by letting Allen Iverson do what he wants to. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah, that's an unfiltered conversation, and we'll have to do that another time.
But no, I think, like I said, the Hall of Fame class, it gets no better. I saw somebody post something over the weekend. Is this the greatest Hall of Fame class of all time? And I said to this, I think it was my man Ellie Brodus, over 3-point conversion. Big shout out to him.
Yeah,
he's the one that posted it. Is this the greatest?
I love Ellie Brodus. He is so funny, but he is so knowledgeable when it comes to hoops.
He was like, "What is this the greatest Hall of Fame class?" And I said, the real question is the Dream Team considered a Hall of Fame class? Because I think when you look at this, like the talent on the Dream Team's Hall of Fame class is one thing. Now, as far as the individual class itself, it gets no better than this class.
Right.
It just doesn't get better. Like, there's a reason why Paul Pierce and Dirk Nowitzki held off their retirement tours. That way they don't have to be in this class. Then, Paul, I can't wait for Dirk's Hall of Fame in the next 2 years. That's going to be amazing.
Nor can I.
You look at the class itself. I mean, if you look at you have the three main, actually, even into concussions, you have winners everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Tamika won in college. Tamika was one of the most winningest women in college basketball history.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not just women, just players in general of basketball.
Yeah.
She was part of those Tennessee teams with Shamika Holdsclaw.
Yep.
And not only she held her own, she might have been the best player on those teams too.
Yeah.
She won a championship in the WNBA. You have champions all over. Duncan and Kobe were matching ring for ring.
Yes.
KG got his in Boston.
Mm-hmm.
You have defensive player of the years, you have MVPs, you have all NBAs, you have all stars all around the board. So this is arguably, with the exception of the Dream Team, because of course we all know the Dream Team did as a unit.
Yes.
How they transition basketball, but as a class itself, I can't think, even with the Jordan Hall of Fame class, I don't think nothing comes close to this as far as star power, winning, and just all around just greatness.
Yeah.
Like, being at Springfield when that Hall of Fame is going to go down, it's going to be one of the, if it's not the hardest ticket to get since Jordan, I think it might be even harder.
I think it is too. I think it's going to be the toughest ticket to get since MJ was enshrined. And to say that with all of the players and the coaches that represent the Hall of Fame right now, this class right here, I would bet you anything it'll be sold out within minutes.
And I'm even saying this, even without, if Kobe Bryant would still be on this earth with us today, I think Ticketman would be just as hard as this with him living than him being deceased.
Yeah.
I think that the demand will be even. Now, my question for the Hall of Fame is, if Vanessa Bryant is going to speak on Kobe's behalf, which makes sense, I don't know if she could make a better speech than she made at the Kobe Bryant Memorial.
At his celebration.
I don't know what more, because that was you talk about Jordan's 33-minute speech. I think Vanessa's what, 17, 18 minutes?
18 minutes.
Can't remember how long it was. It could be, yeah. Whatever length of time of Vanessa Bryant's speech, that was the most heartfelt. You felt every word that she was saying. And I couldn't watch it without a tear in my eye.
Nor could I.
Every time I watched it, a tear has hit my eye. It's uncontrollable. For some people, it's uncontrollable. For me, I cried because as much as you might not like Kobe Bryant on the court, you respected the man, you loved the man off the court.
You appreciated him off the court also.
Because even if you didn't like him on the court, for those who have daughters, you related to Kobe because he was a girl dad.
Yep.
If you're a father, you relate to Kobe because he's a dad. If you're a film lover, the man won an Oscar.
An Oscar, yes, for Dear Basketball.
If you don't have children, love women's basketball, Kobe was the biggest proponent for women's basketball on the men's side.
Yes.
He was proponent. I mean, there's something about Kobe that everybody can relate to, whether you did not like him on the court or not. If you loved him on the court, everything off the court was just extra. It was extra.
Yeah.
So it's just, and the same thing with Kevin Garnett. People love and hate Kevin Garnett.
Mm-hmm.
People who love Kevin Garnett probably love him since the days of Minnesota.
Yep.
When he was the kid, when he was the big ticket, when he was the best player in the league, never to make the finals.
Right.
Because I'll say this to this day, and I know that people will argue against me this one. If Sam Cassell does not get hurt in the Western Conference Finals, they beat the Lakers.
They win that series. They win that series. If you have Sam Cassell in 2004, especially with the Timberwolves having home court advantage in that series,
they would have beat the Lakers. They would have beat the Lakers that year.
And would have taken no more than 5. They would have clinched it in Minnesota. I believe that in my heart.
I don't know if they would have won that finals that year. I think they lost it was the Pistons that year.
Yeah, they would have lost to the Pistons, but they would have trounced the Lakers in 2004. You have Sam Cassell on that series.
I compare that injury to, I'm going to say this, it's up there with I'd say Jameer Nelson.
Mm-hmm.
When the Magic when Jameer Nelson got hurt, when the Magic replaced Ray for Alston with Jameer Nelson in the finals.
Yes.
I compare it to that. I compare it to even going back to the Cleveland Cavaliers in the finals that year when LeBron lost not only Kevin Love, but when he lost Kyrie in Game 1.
Right.
Because if Kyrie stayed healthy, that's a completely different series.
It is.
And you might not like LeBron James or not, but LeBron averaged a triple-double the entire series because he had nothing. He had to give a Herculean performance.
He had to.
And he still couldn't beat.
He absolutely
and he still couldn't win that year. You can't win by this. Brian, we all know this. The NBA is not the '90s NBA where one guy can single-handedly carry a franchise.
True.
You can't. And Kevin Garnett for years put that entire Minnesota team on his back.
He did.
And one thing Glenn Taylor did was, Kevin was loyal.
Mm-hmm.
He was loyal to Minnesota. He was loyal to Flip. He was loyal.
Mm-hmm.
I know him and Glenn Taylor have not spoken, and I hope that they can mend that relationship because Flip's no longer with us.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Flip Saunders is no longer with us. Glenn Taylor allowed Kevin Garnett to be a champion. He allowed him to go to. They facilitated the trade for him to go to Boston.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin sacrificed.
Yeah.
When people fail to realize that Kevin Garnett was one of the 5 best players in the league when he went to Boston.
Yep, he was.
But he went to Boston, and the difference between year 1 of the Celtics and year 1 of the Miami Heat was Paul Pierce was the man, Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett basically let Paul lead the team.
Mm-hmm.
In Miami that first year, Dwayne Wade knew LeBron James was that guy.
Yeah.
LeBron James did not want to take Wade County from Dwayne Wade because he respected Dwayne. That was his city. And that's the reason why they didn't win that finals against the Mavericks.
Mm-hmm.
If LeBron would have taken the role and basically, I know he's a respect factor being in a different city. if they would have the conversation earlier and LeBron would have bought into this being your team instead of it being Dwayne's team and you guys going back and forth, the Heat would have won those 4 consecutive championships.
I believe it.
I think they would have won.
I believe it.
It's not LeBron's fault. I think people blame LeBron for that series, but I just think the fact of it is the difference was they're all kids. LeBron, it's not like, you go into a situation in a new city, you're the best player in the world, but you're going into a new city. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing the Warriors dealt with Kevin Durant.
Right.
The only difference was Kevin and Steph, they saw it. Steph knew that, okay, Kevin is the guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to support you. You got to take it.
And he did.
Kevin didn't want that responsibility.
Right.
Kevin just wanted to be one of the guys.
That's a big.
And then when when midway seasons, when Steph's still with the leader, and KD was like, "Yeah, I'm the best player, but I'm going to rock behind Steph." That's when they started obliterating everybody.
Yep. And you bring up that very valid point, and I'm glad you did. Because think what you want about the move Kevin Durant made to join Golden State, and I will stick with this until the day I go 6 feet under. And it's a fact. It's a proven fact. The Warriors didn't call Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant called them. Let me repeat myself. Kevin Durant called them because he saw something special. No.
Remember, let's go back.
Okay, let's go back.
Draymond Green and Kevin Durant was exchanging text messages the entire season.
Right, you're right. And you're absolutely right.
Draymond was like, "Yo, whatever's going on in Oklahoma City, we don't have that out here.
Thank you for bringing that up.
We don't have what you're dealing with in Oklahoma City out here."
Thank you for bringing that to me. I've been wrong all this time, and I will happily admit that. Thank you for bringing that to me. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, because
thank you for bringing that.
Because people are like, the thing is, it only became bad when the Warriors beat the Thunder. That's because if you think about this, let's just say the Thunder lost to the Nuggets that year in the playoffs and KD went to the Warriors next year, we wouldn't have this discussion.
This is true. It's only became bad, and I'll repeat your point, and this is Danny's point, folks. It only became bad when the Warriors erased a 3-1 deficit and beat OKC in the West Finals, 2016, I believe that year was.
I think the second I knew it was over, I didn't think he was going to Oakland. When you had Game 6 at home,
yep,
and those two him and Westbrook did not 0 for 7, 0 for 8 in the fourth quarter, the final 6 minutes,
and Klay Thompson went nuts.
Erased that lead.
he went nuts single-handedly, and
he erased it.
But you bring, I'm so thankful you brought that up, and it was to illustrate the point that Kevin Durant got it. And LeBron got it, I'll say a year too late. Because when he did catch on, Miami obliterated everybody.
The next year, Miami, because they ran through Oklahoma City like X-Lax.
Yep.
Okay, it was really simple. Like, they got it together.
That's true.
And the thing is, you can't, people blame LeBron for that final series. I just think, look, it's not the fact of LeBron not being super aggressive. No. You go into a city, you're in Cleveland, and Cleveland is your bubble.
Yep.
Everything in that city of Cleveland was you. You leave Cleveland to go to Miami-Dade County, or otherwise known as Wade County. You go into Wade County, the place where Dwayne Wade made his name by becoming Flash in the finals. Where agent Shaquille O'Neal, he carried them to that final series against the Dallas Mavericks.
Yes.
He carried them.
He did.
Shaq could only get them so far. Wade did what Kobe did. He took over those games.
And took them the rest of the way.
At that point, that became Dwayne's city.
Mm-hmm.
That city is still to this day.
Wade
that is
County.
Dwayne Wade City.
Yep.
He took that city from being Dan Marino, because that was all Miami was Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Miami was known for Dan Marino. He didn't win a championship, but Marino was everything the city Miami was in conference with.
Right.
The Marlins never had a guy because they kept dismantling their team every time they won. So Marlins didn't have that guy. The Florida Panthers, they were decent, but everybody knew them from the Cup run with the Rats.
Yeah.
But that was years ago. So Miami needed an identity. Miami, Dwayne, when Shaq got there, Shaq put them, and the Heat were good.
Yeah.
Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, they were good, but they weren't finals good. Shaq got there. Shaq basically put a face to the city. Dwayne Wade made it his own city.
True.
And LeBron comes in, and LeBron's like, "Yo, you're my best friends in the league. I'm coming to help you win. I'm not trying to take your city." And Dwayne's like, "Yo, I see a 6'8", 275-pound battering ram that can handle the basketball." And they're going back and forth. It wasn't like they were arguing over whose city it was.
Yeah.
They were arguing with each other, like saying, "You take it, no, you take it, you take it. This is your city.
Right.
You're LeBron James." They couldn't get it together.
They couldn't.
After they lost and they sat down. Because Chris Bosh had built into that third man role. He was Ray Allen.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm happy with my role. It's like, okay, you two are two of the three best players in the league, two top 5 players in the league. Y'all two got to figure this out. LeBron didn't want to step on Wade's toes. Wade was like, "Yo, I'm willing to let you run the show."
Right. But when they figured it out, they ran over everybody.
Yeah.
And it's like you said, when Kevin figured it out with Steph, and to a point, Clay and Draymond, it was on after that. It was on it when Steph and KD
beginning of the year
figured it out.
Yeah.
Adios. It was over.
Yeah. When the thing was, I think in the beginning, I think Steph was like, "Yo, KD, it's your team," and KD's like, "No, Steph, this is your city. Like this is your city. I'm here to help you win." And when they figured out that Kevin is just going to be an assassin, Steph is going to do all this. If we need Kevin to do the heavy lifting late in games, give him the ball, move out the way.
Yep.
Steve Kerr figured out, okay, I'm gonna manage these guys a certain way. Everybody's going to get their time to shine. Draymond's going to do everything. Clay's going to have his moments. Steph's going to have his. KD's going to have his. And once they figured it out, for 2 years, they obliterated everybody. There was nothing nobody could do.
Nope.
There was nothing nobody could do.
Oh, man. It is so much fun talking hoops with this man. Danny Thompson joining me. Man, look, I always have fun talking hoops with you. When the new season does start, we got to make this a weekly or a bi-weekly conversation, because there's going to be much to put together, my friend. And plus,
we got plenty of stuff to talk about now.
We do. But like I'm inviting you to be my bi-weekly guest to talk NBA with me, especially when A, the season resumes, and B, when the new season starts, because this is just so much fun. I'd love to have you as my NBA insider.
Oh, we Brian, we always have fun doing this, and yeah, of course, with me, it's always, just let me know the time and we'll make it work. We've always done that. So it's always supported. And two, we know the 75 greatest players is coming soon.
Yes.
And that's going to be, and that's a debate among a debate, because we're adding 25, there's 75 players of all time.
Yep.
We're adding 25. And the question is, out of the original 50, who are we leaving off?
Yeah.
Because I don't think we can just add 25 players.
No.
Because there were guys left off the original 50 that should have been on there.
True.
How are we going? Does guys that play in the George Mikan era hold the same weight as they did 25 years later?
It's going to be so interesting to see the next 25 that are added to the all-time team.
Because if Dominique Wilkins is down this list, I'm throwing it all away anyway.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
See? Exactly.
I mean, I grew up a Bulls fan. Don't get me wrong. My original favorite player was Julius Erving, and he always will be. But how can you leave the human highlight film off the list? I mean,
it's funny because I remember the biggest argument back in when they did the 50 greatest was Shaquille O'Neal.
What?
It was his fourth year in the league. The fourth or fifth year in the league, and Shaq was on the list. And they were like, how can you put somebody current on this list of the 50 greatest players of all time? And you know what? It turned out fine because Shaq's one of the 10 to 15 greatest players of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out fine.
There were a few active players that were named part of the 50 greatest.
But nobody at Shaq's age.
True.
Shaq was like 25.
Yes, and he already at that time made such an impact on the league that.
And he hadn't even won a championship.
Right.
Shaq hadn't even won one championship yet.
And you're right. It turned out just fine. Now,
with this list, I mean, of course, you got guys who are, LeBron James and those guys, Dwayne Wade.
Yep.
The question is, how many guys that are currently in their prime? Is Kawhi Leonard one of the 75 greatest players of all time?
How about Steph Curry? How about Klay Thompson? Do you include them?
I know Steph Curry is.
Yes.
Curry revolutionized basketball. That's an easy one.
I think the Splash Brothers are an easy one. Kawhi Leonard, I say yes. I say yes to Kawhi Leonard.
Is Klay Thompson one of the 75 greatest players? I don't know, because here's the question. I think I put Giannis in before I put Klay in.
Put them both in. Hell, let's just be put them both in. Why not?
We're adding 25 because you got to think, because you're adding 25 because Kobe's got to be added, Kevin Garnett's got to be added, Tim Duncan's got to be added. That's the first three.
That's easy. That's easy.
Okay, Reggie Miller's got to be Reggie Miller, Dominique Wilkins. We're talking Steve Nash. I'm going to say Allen Iverson. I don't want to. Allen Iverson.
I just wish Allen Iverson could have been added to the first 50 because I loved watching the AI.
Carmelo, you got to consider Dwayne Wade, Carmelo Anthony. There's a lot of guys you have to consider on this list. People hate Carmelo Anthony.
And there's so many to consider. There's so many to consider.
Do you throw Anthony Davis on this list? I mean, there's a lot of guys on this list in the last 25 years of basketball. Where Tracy McGrady's on this list. Paul
Tracy
Pierce.
McGrady's a Hall of Famer. Paul Pierce.
Paul Pierce.
Ray Allen. Dirk Nowitzki.
Yeah, like I said, adding 25 players is not going to be easy.
No, it's not. I thought it would be. I guess I'm wrong, and even my wife / engineer is laughing at me. She's going, it's not going to be easy, and it really isn't.
25 players in 25 years. That's one player per year, and like you said, you have guys who were never even admitted on the list the first, like Dominique and Reggie Miller.
Reggie Miller. Yep. Yeah.
I mean, Mitch Richmond. People forget Mitch Richmond. He's a Hall. There's so many Hall of Famers.
He's a Hall of Famer, and he's not on the 50 greatest.
That's going to be left off the list.
Right. There sure is. There sure are.
Like I said.
Yeah. Next time we're attacking that and see who we put on. Let's hear from you folks. Who would you put on this list? Tweet the show at SITM 9 to noon or SNW Digital Media. Got to go to a break. Danny Thompson joining me talking hoops. He'll be my NBA insider from here on out. Thanks a lot, my friend. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Mr. Snow. I love being on the show. So you guys be blessed.
Thank you. You be blessed also, and give that little one a tighter hug for Uncle Snowman. All right.
I will.
Thank you, brother. Well, that's going to just about do it for this edition of Snowman in the Morning. Want to thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to log on to Snowman Digital Media, where you can hear a replay of this show, and also snowmaninthemorning.com, where you can hear a replay of this show. Check out the podcast on both sites, as the podcast will be available immediately after I close up shop here, which I'm about to do now. Until tomorrow, have a great day. God bless. Remember to make your next move your best move. And always remember, if your dreams don't scare you, then they are not big enough. Dream big, do bigger. I am, and I hope you all are too. Until tomorrow, Snowman's out of here.